Okay, take two. Good morning. Good morning, all of you. The Finance Committee meeting has commenced, and all members are present, that being Alderwoman Finlayson to my right and Alderwoman O'Neill to my left. And we also have Alderwoman Pindall Charles here as well. At this time, could I entertain a motion on introducing an amended agenda?
Madam Chair, I'll move to approve the agenda with the addition of a presentation on grants as it relates to opioids.
I second.
All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Okay, at this time, can I entertain a motion to approve the meeting minutes from Monday, May 2nd?
Motion to approve minutes from May 2nd, 2022.
Second.
All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. And for the record, the meeting was called to order at 10:04 on May, was it 10:04?
Third.
6.
10:06, okay, on May 3rd. All righty. So with that, we are going to start with the fee schedule. And my understanding, we are going to review the fees that have changed from fiscal year 2022 to 2023. They are underlined as such in our budget book. So Director Dickinson or Ms. Connolly, if you could help us with that, if you know, that's what we're using as a reference. Is there presentation as well, or that shows the fees, or, go ahead.
No.
Okay.
But you have in your budget binder is what we have.
Okay.
Madam Chair, may I ask a question?
Yes.
Ms. Connolly, I'm looking at the document, which includes all of the changes, but I'm not seeing what the original charges were. All I see are the changes. So is that someplace else in the binder?
Yes, so you should have a section for the resolutions, for the fees and fine resolutions.
That's the section I'm in, D in our books.
All right, let me see.
That follows the, yeah.
Yeah, I think I can answer that. I think what I was told was that if it's a new fee, it's just in there with an underline. If it's a change in the fee, the old fee is there, crossed out with the new fee.
So this means this is eliminated
That's correct,
completely?
yep, that's added.
Okay. Madam Chair, thank you. So I see that new fees are capitalized and changes or deletions are strike-throughs. Is that correct?
Changes are strike-throughs with the revised fee as applicable. Mm-hmm. Okay.
Right, if it's a new fee, it's capitalized. If it's a,
Okay.
yeah. Thank you.
So starting off, we have the police department changes, and I don't see a representative of the police department here. City Manager Jarrell, are you able to speak to them? The fee changes that are first are under the charter 2.62, et cetera, and their police.
Okay, so for the risk of looking like I don't know where we're at, there was the original one we gave you, and then Jacqueline Lee, the original fee resolution that we provided in the budget book. And then Jacqueline Lee made some changes to it. Do we have a version that shows the cross out and the replacement?
Yeah. We're looking at your budget book, the budget book, on tab D and page number 1.
Right, and that would have been the original resolution as submitted.
It has cross-outs and edits in it, though.
Yes, that would have been the original set of changes. But if you recall, when Rec and Parks was in here doing their presentation, there were some of their changes that didn't get incorporated.
Okay.
So in the meantime, Jacqueline Lee had updated the fee schedule. Okay, so that's going to be added as an amendment. I just want to make sure that the one in your budget book doesn't have those follow-up changes, so.
No, this is-
It was just a small group of changes, but it's not in there. I just want to make sure we're all talking about the same thing.
Okay.
Madam Chair, I have a question still. I'm looking at page 1, the first item, 2.52.030, petition for annexation, $4,000 fee. That is not a new fee, I gather.
This is the entire fee schedule. And then what you see
Okay.
like crossed out or is removed, and then just like your normal legislation. So
Okay.
what's capitalized and underlined is added.
I'm sorry, I thought I heard that we were only getting the changes, but this is the actual entire fee schedule.
Right.
Okay, so I'm good if that's what,
Yeah, and then what I gave to Takia this morning was in amendment form, the changes for Rex and Parks fees, and is there
The
any-
ones that did not get incorporated.
That's correct. Yep.
Okay.
So
right.
you're gonna want to look at both of them, mainly the resolution, and then when we come to Rex and Parks, go ahead and look at that.
Yep.
Additional page that you got today.
So for,
so could you tell us, for the sake of the directors who are here, which section, if police is not here, and obviously police are 2.62.150A, how do we get to fire's not here, Public Works, Rex and Parks, OEM? Should we just go to those sections where the directors are here, and can you tell us where those sections are?
well,
I would just flip through the fee schedule that you're looking at and see which is the next section, because I do believe that sometimes the rec and parks are kind of broken up into two different pieces.
Okay.
Yeah.
And I don't recall which one comes first.
okay. Yeah, let's go by code section. That should be pretty quick. And so then we know if we need to revisit some of these or et cetera. So is everybody on the same page, literally and figuratively?
Yes.
Okay, so on page 1, we're starting with the first revision I have is the Annapolis Police Department, 911 and/or radio recording, first 2 hours free, et cetera, for $44 an hour. Is anyone here able to speak to that? No. Okay, so what do we do?
So I'm asking Lieutenant Miguez to come to
Okay.
the meeting so he can address all the police fees.
Okay. All right, so stay with me, everyone. With that, then, we'll go back to page 1, which is the police department. We'll go back to page 2, which is the police department. Okay, we're in another code section on page 3. There are no crossouts or revisions on page 3. You with me?
Yep.
On page 4, I don't see any crossouts or revisions. On page, stop me if you see differently.
No, page 9 will be your first.
Oh, thank you, Katie.
How about page 5?
Sorry about that.
10.16.1.
Good eyes.
Good glasses.
Yeah. That is an annual fee for trash collection from dwelling units within the city. It goes from $300.04 to $324.05. Director Johnson is here to speak to that, and perhaps we can cover, well, let's just keep going the way we're going. Yeah. And if you could, just so that the public is aware of how you evaluate the fee as representative of da-da-da-da-da.
Okay. Good morning, Madam Chair, members of the committee. Mike Johnson, Director of Public Works. Okay. So for the enterprise funds fees, we have a rate study that is performed every year by our consultant, Stantec. And they look at the costs, the operating costs, as well as the revenues. And based on the projection of the cost, we were able to correct the adjustment or calculate the correct adjustment that is passed on to each household every year. And it's based on the model that they have developed and have done for many years. That gives us the basis for that increase.
So you're referring to the Stantec presentation?
Correct,
Okay.
yes.
Thank you. Anything else?
Do you want to talk about the other changes, what all the public works?
Let's follow the code, and
Okay.
and if it, yeah, I feel like you should all be at the table, because we might go back and forth. But let's see, I think it's page 9.
Page 7.
Oh, good eyes again. I was
Disregard that.
wow, this is like that, what's wrong with this picture or comic strip? Okay, it's Division 15. And it's the harbor master, come on up. And what this does is change a length in the description of the fee.
Good morning, Beth Bellis, Harbor Master.
Good morning, Beth.
Our fee schedule is quite complicated, so I hope you can patient with me. At the moment, a vessel under 60 feet. At the moment, a vessel under 60 feet is $10 per hour if they're coming hourly, and over 60 feet, it's $15 an hour. So whether your boat is 19 feet long or 59 feet long, it's $10 an hour. And so the amount of manpower it takes to tie up a 50-plus foot boat and the amount of space it takes up on Ego Alley is quite considerable. So we thought we would change it to 50 feet. If you're 50 feet or greater, you'll fall into the 15 per hour, which I think is still a good value for the boater.
Okay. When you evaluated your fees and the cost of them, did you evaluate the addition of the new staff, the new employee, so that cost is covered?
No, I did not.
Okay.
We don't really make very much money on hourly boaters at all.
Oh, okay.
It's really just something we want to maintain so someone can come with their grandkids for ice cream that lives locally. If we were only for profit, we wouldn't do hourly boaters.
Questions?
No, Madam Chair, are we going to wait and approve these all together, or are we going to vote on each one?
Yeah, we're going to approve, make notes of anything. I'm making notes of anything we need to go back to so that we can approve them all together with amendments.
Okay.
Yeah, otherwise it would be a longer process, I believe. Okay, so thank you. There is some verbiage on reserved dockage that has changed. Ms. Bellis, it says, it did say reserved dockage west side only. Oh, that's because we have,
That's an easy one.
Yeah.
We no longer lease the property in front of 110 Compromise. That used to be the only area we would reserve. Now we reserve wherever the boat best fits. And then we fill in with our first come, first serves.
just to be weird, when we say west side, what is that? West is.
Well, I think the author meant the area in front of former Fawcett's building, 110 Compromise. That's what they meant, was the west side.
Okay.
There's one previous to the one you were just referencing, which is the change in the dollar amount for 50 feet.
Oh, I'm
You see
sorry,
it
we
at
took,
the top of the page.
yeah, I'm sorry, I took
Okay.
that together with the prior one addressing, in changing one to 50 feet. The other one had to change to 50 feet to address the new rate.
So $10 for up to 50 feet and $15 for over 50 feet.
Correct.
Exactly. Okay. Okay, so now we're on to page 9. And Ms. Bellis, these are yours. And the first one we have is the utility, it addresses utility charges. to the boats. And I don't know what, I guess it was always a weekly charge, and you're revising the 20 amp service from $20 a week to $75 a week. Could you just explain that?
I'm not showing that on my copy. I'm trying to remember what we were doing there.
Yeah, because it's kind of, it's.
For 20 amp outlet, from 20 to 75, it's 3 of them altogether.
Yeah, all the amp services,
Yeah.
and they're kind of substantial.
So the former harbor master, this is for winter storage costs. The former harbor master had that broken down by weekly charges, but we don't do winter storage unless you're staying for at least 2 months. So weekly charges don't make sense. So, thank you. So I think what we're trying to accomplish here is make the monthly charges make more sense to the consumer, but there shouldn't really be a reflected increase in reality. It just goes from a weekly thing to a monthly thing.
So are those,
Week, it should say month.
so instead of week, it should say month?
Yes.
Okay. Excuse me, Ms. Green, could you help us with these notes, because they'll be part of our,
I got it, Ellen.
okay,
Do you have a copy?
we all,
You need-
we'll do our best, but, okay, so we're gonna,
So these are all moving from weekly charges to monthly charges?
that's
Correct.
So the heading should not be winter weekly, but winter monthly?
Correct. And I'm not sure how that mistake happened. I apologize.
Okay, as long as you're clear. So it's 75 a month for 20 amp, 120 a month for 30 amp, 225 a month for 50 amp service a month during the winter months.
Correct.
Okay. All right, then we go on to moorings that are specific to moorings 61 through 76. They must be more inboard or something. They're adjusted higher from 30 a day to 35 a day on a daily, and on a weekly, they're adjusted from 180 to 210 a week.
And this was done primarily for consistency in fees. So our front 40, which are our most popular moorings off of Susan Campbell, are all 35 per night or 210 per week. And then there's another mooring field just above Spa Creek Bridge, which is St. Mary's. Those are 25 per night. We're not asking for a change there because those only accommodate up to 35-foot boats. And then all the rest of the moorings are at the head of Spa Creek and over in Back Creek. And when our boat show visitors and many of our visitors come to stay, they may stay on the front 40 for a few nights, and they've already paid for a week, and now they want to move to a different mooring. With a different price structure, it was causing a lot of refunds and confusion amongst the staff. So for simplicity's sake, we would really only like to have 2 prices. It's $25 if you stay at the moorings just above Spa Creek, and every other mooring will be $35. And for the record, we did check with Department of Natural Resources because they are grant encumbered, and we did get a green light to proceed with this request.
Do you provide a map of where these moorings are so the boaters know or how much they're going to be charged?
We do. The website's pretty good with the
Okay.
mooring maps.
Any questions? We good? Okay. All righty. Down the page, we have some crossouts on language fees instead of, we're still talking about moorings. Instead of private, we add the word annual. Mooring application fee. It's all addressed to annual from private. The word private is crossed out and replaced with annual. The waiting list application stays the same. The annual mooring application fee stays the same at $50. However, the annual mooring permit fee for a resident is adjusted to $1,200 a year. Is that correct?
Correct. And so I could speak to the word private, changing to annual. Really, the moorings belong to the city.
Oh.
And so calling them private was a misnomer, and it led to some confusion and a belief amongst lessees that they had a lot more rights than they actually had. So they get to lease it, and it's a great deal, but they do have to abide by the city's rules. So an annual mooring would be a better name than a private mooring.
Okay. And the adjustment reflects increased labor?
Well, there isn't an increase in labor. I believe that the moorings were just too inexpensive to begin with based on the labor that it takes to execute the contracts, make sure they're maintaining them, make sure we have their boat numbers on file, and also patrolling all the mooring fields to make sure that they're actually using the mooring. So I would say this is minimal considering the value that the customer gets.
Okay. So it is adjusted for, labor and maintenance, et cetera. Okay. We good? I'm turning the page to page 10. And on 10, we have language revisions. Annual pass. Annual pass, it was valid May 1st through April 30th. You now extend it January 1st through December 31st each year and leave the fee the same. So it's a duration extension?
It doesn't really change anything other than make it less confusing to the boater.
I gotcha.
Because if you come to me in March and you want to pass, then it expires in May. Are you going to have to come back in May and get another one? So a lot of Maryland boaters do boat as early as March. And so it makes sense just to do a calendar year in my view and in my experience.
Okay. Yeah, it looks like it was an attempt at fiscal year versus a calendar year. Okay, so that's okay. And the same with the Tucker Street annual boat trailer permit. And that was there at 25. Okay, so that changes to calendar year as well to avoid confusion. Okay, we're done with page 10. And page 11.
Can I ask a question?
Oh, yes, stop me, yes.
Ms. Bellis, can I ask a question about the Tucker Street? I know that there's been discussion about different fee schedule on Tucker Street for county residents versus non-county residents. Would that be reflected here, or is this just a flat fee for everybody?
I did not have that ruling from the Office of Law when I submitted these. So I think it would be important to visit that as soon as possible if that's what the city and the constituents desire. I'm not sure how we would go about that, but I'm glad you reminded me about that.
So clarify?
So, yes, so City Manager Gerald, if we were to add that in as a non-county resident fee, is this the place to do it, or is that further down the line?
This would be the place to do it, yeah. I think we need to decide how we incorporate that whole language that was passed by the council of not allowing non-county residents to use that.
We don't want to not allow them. We want to increase their fee.
Increase the fee. And so that would definitely be in this fee table. That's where that would be shown.
Okay, so is that
For the record,
requesting an addendum to the fee schedule?
What I would do is incorporate, we already have an amendment coming through to fix the errors from before. It's in the system as amendments from the mayor. You may want to also add when you're preparing your amendments, we'll add an amendment that puts that provision into the right space here, and I would rely on Ms. Bellis to tell us where the right place to put that insert is in this chart, but it should go into the fee chart. But we want to make sure it has any kind of division, resident, non-resident language in there, 2 different squares, that kind of thing. But it will have to go on an amendment to the resolution.
Yeah, that's what we're going to do. And yes, we're going to work on this line item, you're making it da-da-da, and then inserting another line item for non-county or city resident.
Okay, so if you just
But-
tell us what the amendments are, what it is we need to do and where we're putting it.
Yep.
We'll work with the Office of Law to get the
Yep.
proper fee schedule
Yep.
pulled together.
We'll have them today. Yeah, that's what we're going to be deliberating on. Question though, Beth, in using the definition of fee being required, how do we delineate, how do we justify adding the cost for a non-city/county resident where it's not so much additional service or the word you use, labor and maintenance. It's basically a deterrent.
If I understand the question correctly, I think what our city attorney said to me was because they don't pay city taxes, because non-county residents don't pay city taxes, then they have to pick up their portion of the cost for enforcement in the area,
Okay.
and so on and so forth. That's what I believe his.
Okay. So there is a justification.
He believes so, and
Yeah.
he quoted the number 100 as the highest. He would recommend we go with that.
Okay. We can work with that. Thank you for that clarification.
Can I clarify that you're talking about non-city residents?
Non-county, because we recently edited Title 15 to allow county residents to use Tucker Street.
Okay, well, I will say that county residents outside the city don't pay city taxes either. So,
That's a good point.
I know there is that sliver of yeah.
I mean, anybody outside the city limits doesn't pay any taxes to the city in property taxes.
The argument was that if you are on the other side of Weems Creek and looking at the dock, is there fairness that you can't use that dock that's the closest dock to your?
I'm just saying if the decision is anybody within the county pays one rate and anybody outside the county, I'm not sure the division of whether or not you pay county taxes is the right criteria, but that's something to ask the Office of Law since they're the one who made that statement.
I think that's a good point.
Yeah. Yeah, so that there's a financial reason for it. We'll figure that out. Okay. I don't see anything on page 11 and 12. Who sees something first? 13. Oh, 13. Okay, 13 is Director Johnson. It's Code Section 17. And this is, I think I know what this is, the fees increases for watershed restoration, which I assume is part of the Stantec evaluation. But please elaborate, Director Johnson. The first one we have is a single-family dwelling. Are you with us? Unless you,
Sorry.
I'm on page 13.
Page 13, yes. Yes, I am. Mhm.
Yeah, page 13, Code Section 1710180B, single-family dwelling increasing from $19.95 a quarter to $21.35 a quarter.
Madam Chair, again, these are fees that resulted from the Stantec study whereby the water increased by 4% across the board. That was the recommended increase. And that's what's reflected in the rate for fiscal year 23.
How, a little confusion, I think it's just a typo kind of thing. On multifamily residential dwelling, I believe the intent was to cross out $9.98.
That's true, Madam Chair. I just noticed that. We need to strike through on that 998.
Yeah.
That's the old rate.
So the new amount is 1067.
Is
Yeah.
1067,
Had
correct.
a strikeout. Okay. All right, that takes care of the watershed restoration. We good? Down to, okay. All right, page 14 is clear. Page 15 is clear. Page 16 is clear. Page 17 is good. 18 is good. Page 19 is good. I know that Dr. Nash worked hard on these last go-around. Page 20 is good. And page 21 did, City Manager Jarrell, who is this, does Deputy Manager Guy look at these? Or who looks at forest stand delineations, forest conservation, all that? Is that under Director
Planning and
Malinoff?
zoning. It's under
Planning and zoning, okay. It's all under Director Malinoff, okay, cool. All righty. Page 22, I have nothing changed. And then we go to parking fees. I think wait, oops. We'll soon have a demolished garage. How do you want to address?
I would just leave those in place. Those are what we intend to have for the new garage
That's, okay,
at
okay,
first when it opens, so we'll just
Okay.
keep them.
okay. So then that's no change on page 23. And no page on 24. Okay, then we're back, then we go to, and just for confirmation, Acting Director, Kwaku, he looks at these, right? Do I? Okay.
Yes.
Okay. All right, so what we're going to do is we have an amendment.
Madam Chair, we haven't finished. Are we gonna?
I'm on page 25 and we're at Recs and Parks. Is there anything before that?
No.
No, okay. So what I understand is that what's in our book is going to be superseded by amendments. They're called the Buckley Amendments, and it looks like they're all related, from what I see, to Parks and Recs. So we are going to cross out what's in our book let's go through, they're sort of categorized. So the first one is Rec and Parks fees. So it's safe to say, this is what I'm doing, is saying this is out, and this is out, and it's replaced. Okay, so Director Trader. Where's the latch key? Except I don't think he addressed, we'll have to check on latch key. Are you with me on latch key? It's not. Thank you, Director Trader, for doing this. As I know your presentation, got ahead of us, so this is good that we're all looking at the same thing. So we're going to go through what has changed. And what we see first is a gym rental for Stanton Center has increased from a city resident from 55 to 65, and the non-resident from 63 to 75. Is that correct? Yes, okay. Not to get weird, but that's a similar situation. You know, we have to justify why we're increasing the cost for a non-resident, even though the services are the same. So that's interesting. Maybe we could use the same percentage, I don't know. Okay, the kitchen rental went from 30 to 45 resident and 35 to 55 for a non-resident.
Madam Chair,
Yes?
in these situations, they're talking about city residents versus county residents, not county residents versus other county residents.
So
So when
anything-
Rec and Parks sets a non-resident fee, it's for anybody who lives outside the city,
Which would be,
which don't pay taxes, so.
which is clearly outside city.
Correct.
Okay. Thank you for that clarification. So it's that wedge of county people that we don't know how to address. Okay, and I'm sorry, could you give us sort of a synopsis on your evaluation of why these fees needed to be increased? We can take them together, the gym rental, the kitchen rental, and the meeting room rental.
I know for a fact that, first of all, thank you for having me, and Lakeisha, and I apologize for being on the phone. But for your information, that was Ron Fisher asking for rock wall climbing reservations for Hacker children, so we took care of it right there.
That's
To answer your question, I believe I have been appointed as director for 6 years, and I know those fees haven't gone up in 6 years. And I believe that they have not went up since I was a Stanton Center manager from 2006 to 2016. So based on that, it was well overdue.
Yeah. So that's really an important point. So this isn't just, a yearly adjustment or anything. This is based on your analysis of being, director for the last several years, that they needed to be adjusted.
And the social, economic conditions and the financial conditions that, affect us as city government and recreation and parks.
All right, next is the Truxton Picnic Pavilions. We have Pavilion number 1, increase for $175 a day for residents and $200 a day for a non-city resident. We have Pavilion 2 or 3, slightly less at $125 a day for city resident and $175 a day for non-resident. Same analysis that these fees needed to represent the
Yes,
current.
Everything is going up. Everything is really expensive. And we also intend to make some upgrades of the pavilions. We are going to paint them, and we're going to research putting in some fans in the ceilings of the pavilions.
That's great.
I have
Yes.
a question.
Yes.
Mr. Trader, we have always tried to keep all of our costs to our residents at as minimally as we can. Are we still looking to make sure that everything is affordable for everyone? We've deliberately increased fees for non-residents with keeping in mind that we want to make it affordable for residents. So with all of your increases, are they necessary, and do they stay within the realm of affordability for all of our city residents?
I cannot answer that mathematically, but this is how I will answer that. As director, I have the ability to help people purchase programs, I have a $300 cap in which I can provide, or I can provide some type of discount. When someone comes to my office and say, Mr. Trader, I really would like to have a gathering for my mother, but, can you help us? And I'm always there to help. But I will try to, do some type of analysis mathematically. I would have to go to what department that I could go to get some help with those type of statistics to understand the demographic income of certain populations.
Well, I think you know as well as I do which communities within the city would need additional help.
Right.
And I don't need the statistics on it. I just needed to hear you say that accommodations are made when there's a need.
Yes, absolutely. And also what you have to consider, we have city employees that can't afford some of these amenities, if you will, or facilities for rent. And they have come to me and said, Mr. Trader, may I have a discount, for this, we can't afford it. So I've got my finger on the pulse of people that are in need. I walk through those neighborhoods. They still know me from the old days. And so I am very amenable to providing, opportunities for people who otherwise will not experience it.
Thank you. And you used a quote that I often use, or a phrase, which is to keep your finger on the pulse of what's going on in our community. So thank you.
You're welcome.
I also took from that answer that it's your philosophy not to turn anyone away.
No. It's hard. It's very difficult. People are challenged with just everyday life. I go to the grocery store and buy 2 bags for $100. I don't know what people do with 5 or 6 children.
Yeah. Yep. No, we know that. Okay, then we go to the Waterworks Park and the walk, the Annapolis Walk, which is a trail increased from 30 to 45 for a city resident and from 35 to 55 for a non-resident. Okay. How does that work?
What, the Waterworks Park?
No. I mean, the collecting that fee.
They have to come to the Moyer Recreation Center and
get it.
reserve the space, and they pay for it there.
Okay.
And we have a person who actually opens the building based on reservation logistics.
Okay. All right, yeah, I don't want to go public saying that I think I've trespassed, but that's okay. Anyways, kickball, it looks like it's new. It looks like a new thing. It's 160 for a 4-hour block and 175 for a 4-hour block. I assume that's like for a lot of people coming to play kickball.
Yes,
So they
we do.
divvy it up or something. All righty. Okay, so one thing that I don't see in the amendment is the latch. In the budget book, there is a latch key program. It is modified in the budget book to $120 a month for before school care, and after school care is $300 a month. That's current. I mean, that's your revision?
Yes.
Okay.
Can you tell me a page number, please?
I'm going back to the budget book because it wasn't superseded by an amendment. It's page 26. And it has the latchkey program, before school care and after school care. how do they get help with the after-school care? Is there any financial help with that if they can't afford the $300 a month?
We do direct people who cannot afford to look at the Department of Education's Child Care Scholarship Program, and I have helped walk several people through that process of getting scholarship and vouchers through the Department of Education. And we also make provisions in-house that people can't afford. They can't afford it.
And what is the age for this program? The age
It's
category?
pre-K to grade 5 because we only do it in the elementary schools.
Yes, please do.
And is there a reason for the larger jump in the after-school care versus the prior care? Because with the change in school times, we're gonna have a lot more kids.
Yes, so the change is twofold. It's keeping up with fees that are in the surrounding areas. We're still far below what the other childcare centers charge for aftercare. And also the increase is because school hours will change and we will be there with the children longer.
Okay. Can we modify this to say latchkey program? Do you think it's necessary to put the age? Or is that not, does it matter? Okay.
I don't think that's worth an amendment. but
No,
we
okay.
can add
Yeah,
it.
that's just me being weird. Okay,
And
so,
They say they don't want any middle school kids, that's all.
yeah.
And we were trying to move away from the term latchkey and just do pre-K through grade 5 childcare to
Okay.
set the distinction.
Okay.
But we want to, if I may add, we want to follow the process or protocol in establishing that name change.
And I understand from your presentation that you might have some problem in getting employees to help with this. They have to go through background checks and all that. Are you staffed okay with it?
From what I understand, it's a tough hire, to get qualified, certified people in that position. And if I may also add that we are working on a Friends of the Annapolis Recreation and Parks Department. And as an adjunct to the advisory board, Recreation Advisory Board. And then once we get that started off and running, I think that we can help needy people even more.
Director Trader, is that a nonprofit?
Friends of?
Is that the goal, is to have a nonprofit when you say?
That is a goal. That is a goal. 501c3 status is the ultimate goal to raise money. People like a tax write-off as well. But we're working on that now.
Madam Chair,
Yes.
if you recall, we had an item before the Finance Committee addressing a contribution that was given, I think, $1,000. So it looks like you're on the right path. People are already contributing. So to have a 501c3 would encourage even more participation. So I think that's a great idea.
Yeah.
Yes. There's a lot of money in Annapolis, as you know. We just have to put a good package together, and so that we can solicit donations.
Yeah, specific to that use. Okay, so we are continuing then with Amendment 2.
I have one question, Madam Chair.
Oh, I'm
One
sorry.
quickly.
Go ahead.
No, that's fine. Thank you so much.
Yeah.
Ms. Lakeisha, just want to make sure the Childhood Scholarship and Voucher Program, that's through the Maryland State Department of Education?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, thank you.
Alrighty, we're going on to the facility rental of the Moyer Center. And this, what we have in our budget book is superseded by Amendment number 2. So we start with the meeting room rental goes from 37 to 45 for a resident and 45 to 55 for a non-resident, correct?
Yes.
Yeah, okay. The next one is the full meeting space, goes from 110 to 125, 132 to 145 for a non-resident. I assume again that this is in a re-review or inflation, or what was the process in looking at the facility rentals at the Moyer? Just cost of services?
Well, it's been a while, once again,
Okay.
since those fees has gone up. Clearly, community recreation philosophically is not designed to make profit. It's designed to make revenue, and to your point, Councilwoman Finlayson, we have to make sure that people can afford our services. So, but we still have to create price points or cost points that would allow us to pay our bills.
Mm-hmm. Understood. Okay, the next one was the kitchenette, going from 15 to 20. Then the basketball single court, 60 to 80. And the full gym, 180 to 195, 225 to 240. Stop me if I'm wrong. I'm looking, okay. And then the auxiliary gym, from 75 to 100, and 90 to 150. And that's what we have in the amendment. I really thank you for having a reevaluation of these. Okay, so that's Amendment 2. Let me, okay, so we're continuing with summer programs, so we can say, let me make sure what we can say. Okay. Up to the swimming pool, the summer programs in the budget book are replaced with Amendment number 3, up to the youth, well, it adds its whole thing, because you've added some things, which is after the summer basketball league, you added some other leagues. Wow, that's exciting, lots of leagues added. Okay, so Amendment 3, we added leagues. We added a summer basketball league. What is that for? Is that
Team registration.
$575
Per team.
per team?
Per team.
Where does it say that?
He just said.
Should we say? Okay, yeah, it's per team. Okay. And volleyball. And double header softball. Single game softball. And youth basketball league. Are these ours? Like, I mean, this is kind of exciting. You're adding all these leagues. Are they ours? Like city sponsored
They are.
league? Like shirts and everything?
No, well, they have to buy their own shirts, some of the leagues. That we provide shirts for the children. But the adults, they have to provide for themselves.
Okay, so it's for children, it's summer, so it's for children, so,
Yes.
wow. That's great.
I have a question, Madam Chair.
Yes, Alderwoman Finlayson?
My initial thought was, these are very high. But I see that the 575, is that a new amount for the Summer Basketball League? I see it underlined in the original document and as well as in the new document. So that's a new item. All 5 of these are new items. So is the 575 the norm? That just seems high to me, but I don't,
That's cheap.
okay.
It's well under the normal cost for men's basketball. you would assume that these are working men. It would maybe cost them, if you're carrying 10, it would cost $50 a man.
So these are not children's leagues, these are adult leagues.
Some of them are.
One says you.
Does it differentiate? You know, is the All-Stars, you know, that's my frame of reference right now. Would they fit into this category? They're dealing with kids, I think, to middle school age.
So our men's, the summer league, the summer basketball league, that's our men's league. The youth basketball league is the one that we have. We're not changing the fee on that one. That's $4.25 per team. We do a rec league in that. We do a rec team in that league. The men's summer league, the $575 is well below. Even at taking it to $700, it remains well below the average of other leagues in the area. We are still the lowest league, and we supply all of the referee fees. That's all included in that $700.
And that's the team cost?
That's the team cost.
Individual cost to
Yes, ma'am.
participate. The double header softball league, I assume that's really popular. $700 for both?
$700 per team.
For both city residents and non-city residents?
Yes, we don't make a distinction for city resident and non-city resident with the league fees. That's just
Okay.
one fee for each team.
The summer.
Well, you
we
did at the summer basketball league, there's a difference.
The men's.
But in the softball, there's no difference.
No.
And in the single game,
It shouldn't, and we had discussed that it was not the city resident, $575 is the current rate right now that we charge for the summer league, and that has been for many, many years. We're proposing to increase it to $700.
Oh,
But it's
oh.
not it's not a distinction between city resident and resident between the leagues.
That's correct. That was one of the things that Jacqueline was going to fix, is that first column should be 700, not 575. So we have to note that and make sure that gets updated. 700, 700.
we're looking at the amendments right now.
Right, and there, we did note with her that one needed to be changed to 700. I don't know if she gave us a separate document after that or not, but this was the most recent version of her changes that we could find.
Okay.
So how do you do, what is the document control there? Do you have to issue another amendment to amend an amendment, or can we help with that?
It's already an amendment. We already have it. This is
No,
amendment
the
number
amendment's
3.
in error, though. It
it's
doesn't
wrong.
include one of the
So
changes.
this is still wrong.
Yeah.
Just with that one fee. So what I don't know is if we can just update the dollar amount on this amendment, or do we have to have an amendment 4 that would give us a whole new section for this section? That's a question for the Office of Law.
Okay.
I would have documents and emails that was supposed to be corrected. I do have a email string that talks about that
Okay. And
mistake.
I'll ask my colleagues, do you think it's worth clarifying per team? Because I didn't know until you told me. I mean, did you know that? I think that's necessary to say per team cost?
I would say probably, because if you notice in all the other ones, they'll say per 1 week session or something
Yeah.
like that. It just
Yeah.
clarifies that it's not an individual fee. I mean, it would be awfully high if it was for an individual, but it would help with clarification.
So, Madam Chair, are you suggesting that we add men's summer basketball league to that line as a title, so we're clear that it's not a children's activity? Is that what I'm?
I was just stressing the fee itself is per team.
Oh, yeah, okay. But that should be 700 for both,
Correct,
correct?
correct.
And perhaps it should say adult versus men's,
That too.
since we have the youth summer basketball league at the bottom. Can we just say adult summer basketball league?
Yes, we can change it to adult summer basketball league.
Yeah, Director Dickinson, just review with the law office how we tweak, how we can tweak Amendment 3 without,
Well, they
reissuing
won't
Amendment
change it
5
to-
or something.
So could that be added to the amendment? Is that what you're?
Could add to our recommendations.
If there's another amendment coming that will correct that line,
Yeah, that's
then
what
we
she's,
could just add adult summer basketball league.
yeah, we'll make that recommendation. How it's formalized is up to the law office, I'm hearing. Okay, are we good? Good.
Okay.
Okay, so then, we go back to the swimming pool. And from our budget book, it looks like the swimming pool, I know these were evaluated last year, and they stay the same, basically. So let me just, to verify, adult, $6 a day for a resident, $10 a day for a non-resident.
Yes, there's no changes in
No
that.
changes in the swimming pool. Okay,
If I may, Madam Chairwoman,
yes,
and the child cost has not changed. It's $4.
ever.
You know I was going to ask that question, right?
I knew it. Beat you to that.
Okay, and this is a irrelevant question, I'll ask anyways. On the pool party, do you limit the number of people? You know, just pool party, do you say there's a limit of X number of people? That's okay, just curious. I just didn't know.
Well,
For safety reasons, I'm just,
the pool parties are incorporated in public space when everybody is using the pool.
yeah.
So in other words, we don't close down the pool or for someone to have their own personal
Oh,
party.
oh, okay. So it's a whole party coming together.
Yes.
Got it. All right. I think we're done with Parks and Recs.
Okay. If I may, Madam
Absolutely.
Chairwoman,
Yes.
I just want to make note that we will be submitting some items that you all thought was relevant to our budget and to the operation of the rec and parks. We are going to submit the training. We're going to submit a request for the anti-violence program that we are starting. And we're also going to submit a budget for software.
May I ask?
Yeah. What,
Mr. Trader, you're talking about amending your budget request? Is this an enhancement to your budget?
I don't know if we can call it an enhancement, but this is a definite amendment.
Well, I know that term is probably not applicative, but it's what we call changes. So are these things not already included in the mayor's budget?
That's correct.
Okay, so there are additional enhancements you want us to consider?
Can
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. Madam Chair, how do we access, or Mr. Gerald?
This is out of order. He needs to run this through the mayor before he proposes it to the council.
I'm sorry, would you say that again?
This is out of order. He has not proposed this to the mayor prior to proposing it to the council, and he needs to do that.
So you're saying he has to go through the mayor to get his enhancements to us?
At least, yeah, that's the proper steps for enhancements for the budget period. This is the mayor's budget. This is not the Archie Trader budget, and so we need to run these proposed changes. You all will still have the opportunity to consider it, but it needs to go through the mayor first.
Mr. Gerald, this is now our budget. The mayor presented his budget to us, and now it's ours. So I understand what you're saying.
I agree. And
Okay.
any changes that are proposed need to be run through the administration first.
Okay, so proper procedure, go to the administration first. We are on a short timeline.
Okay.
So go through the procedures if you have enhancements you want to get to us.
So just for
Thank you, City Manager. I stand to be corrected.
Yeah. Just for clarity, in the budget book, you did ask for an additional $25,000 for security guards, and that is included.
Yes.
That's the only enhancement that we're presented with.
No, we've made some other ones as well, and I can pull those up for you.
Where is that in the number?
It's in the budget.
Oh, okay, it's included but not itemized, okay. Yeah, the 85, yeah, under camp, the 85,000 for the camp,
That's correct.
the camp initiative, that's in supplies and others under camps and classes.
And then additional 10,000 in parks. And I believe that was all three.
Yeah,
Oh, I'm sorry, and we've got pop-up camps in there for 20,000 of one time.
okay. City Manager Jarrow, if you have time today, before we deliberate, I don't know if we want to do it publicly or offline. I want to talk about how we review enhancements that are before us and the process.
Sure,
Okay.
yeah, I have time.
I'm a little confused because we're sort of we're dabbling. You know, we have some and we don't have others, and I assume that's what's been vetted by the mayor's office that we don't see. Anyways, I digress. So back to fees. Do you have, I guess, I don't know if you have any fines, so I don't know if you're,
The harbor master does.
okay.
Madam Chair, I would recommend that we stay with fees and
Yeah, me too.
get through those before we go on. to
I
fines.
totally agree. I lost my page. Okay, parking fees 24, 25, 27. Oh, we're almost done here. We are alcohol beverages. Okay, they weren't changed, but the only thing that was kind of curious to me was in the evaluation of revenue, City Manager Jarrow, fiscal year, there's something skew, I think, with the outside dining and all that kind of stuff. In the fiscal year 22, I heard that we had a reduction in fees in alcohol and beverage fee. Is that a fair? Okay, I mean, did I hear?
I didn't, if there was, I didn't know.
So it wasn't a reduction? I thought I heard
No,
that.
there was reduction in some activities, and then there was changes in the total revenues from different sources because of the pandemic, both reduced usage, but then others were setting up new sidewalk cafes and paying more, but
Yeah.
that was not
So
a
the
new
net-
fee, it was just the new volume.
I thought
And there was certainly discussion of that, especially during the early part of COVID, about, that they had paid their fees and they weren't getting the value out of them while the restaurants were
Right.
closed. Do you remember that?
Remember
That was
that.
the
Oh,
discussion.
yeah.
I don't think we ever took action to reduce them.
We did delay the due date on a few of them by a couple months, but that was it.
Yeah, and the logic there was because our liquor board fees pay for our services, police and DPW, they were essential services throughout the pandemic, so we didn't adjust them. Okay, so that does fees. So now we're in tab E, as in elephant, and these are fines.
Madam Chair, I do have one question about alcohol beverage licenses. On page 31, one-day temporary alcoholic beverage licenses. My question to, I guess, planning and zoning, are they the ones who recommend for this section? And this was brought to our attention last year and the year before that, if one were in the county and needed a one-day liquor license, it was $10. You come to the city of Annapolis, it's either $50 or $75.
County's now 25 and 50. The county is now 25 and 50.
Okay, the county's now 25. They've increased ours and we're still at 50 and 75.
Yeah.
So there's something that should be reviewed, I'll just say. But that's all, I just wanted to highlight that. So it's duly
And why the
noted.
county is lower, you mean? Or
Why we're higher.
than the county?
Yeah. So,
Okay.
okay. Madam Chair, could we do OEM now? Because they've been sitting for an hour and 15 minutes and it was not a scheduled presentation for them, so.
Madam Chair, we also have police that is not here that.
Yeah, we got to go back to the police
Oh,
changes, but I'm looking in fines and I don't see hardly any revisions, so I think we can conclude on fines pretty quickly, just to conclude on them. Captain Miguez,
Oh,
So we're back to page 1. Okay. Looks like it's page 1 and 2. It looks like you, was this the first time in a while? Oh, introduce yourself.
That's
Sorry.
okay. Good morning. Acting
morning.
Captain Lieutenant Dave Miguel within the Police Department.
Could you explain just sort of the background of these revisions?
Yeah, so let's,
Just as in their entirety, when was the last time you reviewed them? Has this been a review for the
so
first time?
it's an annual, part of the annual review process with the budget submission. But this time around, I just realigned the fees with what our costs are for the various services. And I believe the changes affected mainly requests for CDs for 911 recordings and radio recordings, and then requests for BWC video and CCTV video.
They were never in before. These are new items.
They were in before, but I adjusted the fee amounts.
Oh,
to,
yeah, I see. I see the cross out. I see. Yeah.
Yeah, to reflect what to cover our actual costs. Let's see, the fingerprints and copies all stayed the same.
Okay. And it looks like they're changed to a time in lieu of providing a CD.
Yes, so when I spoke with our communications manager about how long in reality it's taking to make CDs for radio recordings and 911 phone call recordings, it seemed more sensible to break it down into 15-minute increments, because if 3 people submitted requests for radio recordings under the old fee structure, it was a certain amount, per hour. But if it only took her an hour to do all 3, then it didn't make sense to charge all 3, that minimum hourly charge. So I just restructured that to make it more in line with what the reality is in resources expended for making the copies.
Okay. I trust I trust your review. I don't know. Do my colleagues have any questions on let's just look at page 1. Any questions on the adjustments made?
I do, Madam Chair.
Yes, Alderwoman Finlayson.
Captain McGuinness, I don't know what this means. Please explain. $44 an hour. If someone wants to request a copy of a recording of a 911 call,
Yes.
that's how we charge them.
Yes, in 15-minute increments. So $44 an hour in 15-minute increments. So it's $11 for each 15-minute increment. And that's about how long she relayed to me that it will take. I mean, if you're talking if it were for some reason a really long call, or it was an incident where there were several different 911 calls, then it might take longer. But that's kind of on average, that's what it's taking her to produce the copy.
Okay, so I really did understand that, but I just wasn't sure.
Yeah.
So $11 for a 15-minute period, $44 an hour is
Yeah.
what we charge. Are we getting more and more requests for recordings of our 911 calls? Is that why this is added?
It was in there before. It was in there before, and I can't remember. Let's see. Okay, so it was in there before let's see. It was in there at $45 per CD.
Yeah.
And so I changed it not just to a time metric but then lowered the fee slightly, but really just changing it to, it's the time that are the resources, that's the city's expense that goes into producing those copies. The CDs themselves are, a quarter a piece or something, you get a spindle of them, and so the per unit price breaks down to a very small amount, but it's really just the resources that go into it. So where before, it was already in there, the fees for making radio recording or 911 recordings at $45 per CD. I just changed it to an hourly rate for the time of the person making the copy. So that's
Okay.
I think a fair representation of the city's resources that are expended to produce the copy.
The next item deals with the body cameras.
Yes.
$13 a minute.
So
What does that mean?
So what we're doing, and what I put in there was a quote upon request. So if somebody wants a copy of BWC video or CCTV video, then they submit the request and we provide them with a quote. This is what the estimate is going to be for that request that you've submitted. And they can choose to pay that and we will make the copy of the video, or they can decide that they're not willing to pay that much. And the reason I use that the maximum of $13 a minute is because most videos involve some amount of redaction. And as we had talked about during our budget review, when we send video off to a vendor for redaction, they charge $13 a minute. However, as we mentioned during our budget review, we purchased a component with the Axon program that allows us to redact video in-house. And so it's a lot less expensive in general, and it's a lot less expensive for us as a department in the city for us to do that redaction in-house. So the quote is going to be based on the length of the video to estimate the amount of time it's going to take one of our employees to go through the video and complete any needed redactions, and then make that copy for the person requesting it. So I thought it was fair enough to give a maximum rate in there, and then obviously anybody who wants a copy would just submit the request and we would send them the quote.
So if it doesn't need any redaction, then it would be less than $13?
Yes, yeah.
Okay.
It'll be, and I foresee our in-house redactions being significantly less than the $13 a minute.
Mm-hmm. Okay, thank you.
Mm-hmm.
Captain, what is the technology though? Is it still a CD that you hand over?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes, it's still a CD.
Yeah, and prior with the CD, there was no time limitation, so this is the main. Okay, so in the request, do they have to do a FOIA to the law office, or how is
they can, but they don't need to. And currently, that's what they just submit the request to our records section.
Oh.
And that's currently the workflow is people submit requests to our records section. The records section forwards it to our intel section, and they look to determine how many videos there are involved with that request. They may ask for a video from a certain case number for an incident, or a date and time that this incident took place, and the people in the intel unit have to determine, is it only one officer's video, or were there 6 officers on scene? How long was the incident? So how many videos, how long are all those videos? And then they give a response back to records. Records contacts the requester back to say, this is the estimate on what it's going to cost to produce that copy.
Mm-hmm. Okay. And the state legislation, does that change any of this?
No,
Okay.
I don't believe so.
Okay.
It's still just a request for information that's able to be made public
Okay.
to a certain extent within redaction requirements.
So going to the next page, you have other. I guess it's the other category.
So that was already in there.
Yeah.
And I even looked at that myself. I'm not sure what other types of records there may be. But since it was already in there, I just left it in and left it at the actual cost of copying.
Okay. And then you add a lot, several more. Annapolis Police Department incident report, current archived live scan.
Yeah, so those, yes, ma'am, those were all already in there at those same costs, at the same fee levels.
They were?
So I left,
I don't see that. In mine, they're all capped, unless that's the other. No.
Madam Chair, what do you mean by other? I'm not seeing other.
Well, other was up here, the 2.62, related to
Records other than.
records other than the
911.
9/11. Yeah.
I think that's what you're, okay.
Yeah, so the captain said that that was there before, and it's basically a placeholder for any other requests other than the 9/11 or the cameras. And then we go down, and to me, it looks like these reports, $5 a report, $25 a report, those look like they're all added, that they weren't there before.
so they are in all caps, but if you scroll up, the same items are further up.
Oh,
So I'm not sure why.
oh, those should be crossed off then. They should be struck out. On page 1, starting at page 1, Director Dickinson, where it has Annapolis Police Department current $5 a report. Well, it's still $5 a report.
Yeah, they're all the same.
Oh, they're all the same.
Page 2,
525.
2.150, the bottom half of that should just be struck.
23rd, 2018, 2015. Okay, you're ahead of me. Say what? Just, there's no need to.
Yeah, this should be
Yeah, there
struck
was no-
because it's a replication from the.
Yeah. there was
So
no-
it's a redundant, not,
It's a redundant, yeah.
okay.
Is that a deliberate, because it's in a different section of the
That's what I
code?
wanted to make sure, that if we take it out of that section, there's no issue with charging fees. And
Yeah, good.
One's in 150A and one's in 150G.
Yeah,
yeah,
do we,
we just need to make sure before we cross it out that there's no issue with moving it to a new
yeah,
section.
so you basically,
We need to look at the relevant code sections that those refer to before we decide to make an amendment on that.
okay. And about amendments, they're not amendments until they go before the city council. So my understanding is that you can still tweak these as written.
So we would have to devise another amendment.
Oh, if it's a new thing, then it's a new amendment, yeah, okay,
Yes,
okay.
you're talking about the fact that.
Yeah,
Sorry, if the council hasn't considered an amendment yet, you can change it and replace it. So
Yeah,
we
sorry.
can make these changes that we're talking about today to amendments that already exist.
Yeah.
But if there's no amendment to this section yet, we'll have to
That's new.
create another amendment. And I don't believe this section has any amendments so
Nope.
far.
Okay,
Drafted.
got it. And somebody will check on the code reference being correct or not correct, or revised. Okay, I think that's it. I think that's it. Thank you, Captain Muguez.
Not a problem at all.
Unless you have fines, why do I think you have fines, but I don't think you do. Okay, thank you so much. We're gonna go to E, back to E, and for my cursory review of fines, I don't see
Page 6.
yeah, on page 2, point of information on aggressive panhandling. I just want to make sure that that is in line with the recent legislation that we passed on aggressive panhandling.
So I don't know the answer to that. I know that the code that's online doesn't always get updated immediately with new changes, and I don't know if Ms. Green would know whether or not that's been incorporated into this.
Well, we didn't change, we didn't change the fee in the ordinance. It was just defining aggressive panhandling as a misdemeanor. So I assume then that the fine is different as a misdemeanor than what's listed here. So that needs legal review. 11.12.068. Do you agree, City Manager?
We'll check. Yeah,
Thanks.
we'll check.
All
I
right.
don't think it changed the fine at all. I think,
Okay,
just as you said,
just-
change the definition from just a fine to a misdemeanor.
Okay. You saw our page with the revision?
Page 6. 1 second from the bottom, 15.06.
Okay, where's Beth? Miss Bellis, you have fines. And then that's it. Okay.
And page 7.
Okay, as others, could you address, just in general, how are fines looked at? What are they? Are they costs? Are they deterrents? How do we look at fines?
So fines are a deterrent. And just for a point of interest, on any given year, we don't issue more than between 8 and 15 citations. And the reason for that is that our enforcement is largely educational, and we don't want to be seen as a heavy-handed group of individuals. We want to be ambassadors to the city. So there's really only 2 ways that you can receive a citation from me. That is if we write you a written warning that has a deadline to correct your problem and a consequence that's written out that you will get a ticket, and you choose not to do that, then we will give you a ticket. Or if your offense is so blatant, for instance, if you're doing donuts in Upper Spa Creek on a jet ski with no life jacket on, then you will get a ticket. Or if you take 30-foot boat and park it at 4th Street Pier so that no one else can use the pier to go to Davis's Pub, and it is properly signed, then you will get a ticket. So we would like for our tickets to carry a little more oomph, because we find that $100 for some people, I'll just block the pier.
Okay, so we, just so that confirming, trust but verify, we have the 15.06 violation of rules for vessels and persons using city waters is increased from 100 to 200 for both. The same with restricted mooring and anchoring areas, not to exceed 200 for both. And then on to the next page.
Madam Chair, I have a question about the first one.
Okay, go ahead.
Ms. Bellis, going from 200 to 200 doesn't seem like it's that much of a deterrent. First offense is 200. If they're doing donuts on Back Creek, they need a big fine, but you set it for 200. But if they do it again, it's still only 200. What was your thinking about not increasing it for second offenses?
They're only civil violations, and so the way that the court looks at that, my fear is that the court would look at that as being a bit mean-spirited. So a civil violation could be something as simple as anchoring a boat that can't propel itself for greater than 12 hours. Mm-hmm. So even though a repeat offender, I understand your line of thinking, but they're not the crimes of the century, so I really didn't think going higher than 200, even for second offenders, was necessary. Because I also have the authority to ban them from city waters. And that's a choice that we can make for someone that continues to violate.
I guess I'm thinking along the lines of public safety and separating those issues that may be more mechanical with boaters as opposed to more dereliction.
In other words, things that are an overt act as opposed to a failure to act, maybe. Mm-hmm. I could certainly look at how we might be able to do that, but the way that the fine schedule was bulleted out, that wasn't an option in this case.
Well, just something to think about. I'm not asking you to bring it back to us or anything, but I just think it needs to be considered. If there are infractions that address a public safety concern, there should be a penalty for it.
Sure.
So, thank you.
I will add to that if I park in the wrong spot and I get a parking ticket, the first parking ticket is 40 and then it doubles after that every time.
Oh.
Yeah.
Just saying.
Maybe I'm being too kind. Maybe we should just really consider making it 300 or 400 then. I'm certainly open to that idea. Perhaps I'm being too kind.
Or from your, how often have you had to do that, I guess is another consideration. But you do address it in the unlicensed or unauthorized structures. When you have to tell them again, it's $1,000. So that's something you've thought hard about. What would that be, an unlicensed or unauthorized structure in the water?
Are you looking at 15.24?
1520-160C on page 7.
That's not what my copy reads. I'm sorry about that.
It has.
I have it as.
Yeah, you upped it to 200 for fine, and then you kept it at 1,000 for the repeat violation for an unlicensed or unauthorized structure.
Yeah, that's not a change.
The 200 is.
So unlicensed and unauthorized structures, I don't have the verbiage in front of me, but my hunch is that that would be if you threw up a pier and you didn't have a permit. And so those types of violations, I work with planning and zoning. I typically don't even write those citations unless someone from planning and zoning is available to testify as well, because that's not my area of expertise, although I do have the ability to do the enforcement.
I'm a little confused. So are you saying the initial fine is still $100, or did you want to raise that to 200? That's what our version says, that you increase from 100 to 200 for the initial fine for an unlicensed or unauthorized structure.
So the copy that I'm now looking at shows it to be 200 for the initial offense.
Okay.
And there's not a change that it
Correct.
goes, that it's 1,000. So that looks correct to me.
Okay, cool. And then we go down to the civil actions. Ooh, these are big ones, but it's Title 17. Is this you, or it's illicit? Obviously, it's illicit discharge and connection. Oh, no, this isn't water.
DPW.
We're out of the water now. Sorry. I thought we were still in the water. Okay, we're out of the water, and we're on land now. Okay, so 17.07.130, and is an illicit discharge and connection stormwater civil action not to exceed 10,000 per day for both first and second, and then you call illicit discharge and connection stormwater, I don't know the difference, you call it criminal action. Could you just explain the two items and the reason for this, which I think we know?
Yes, Madam Chair. Now, these came out of the recently adopted ordinance for illicit discharge, detection, and elimination.
Was it an ordinance or a resolution?
It was an ordinance, 03821.
Okay, thank you.
And this is really part of the state permit, the MS4 permit that the city has that governs stormwater discharge. And because stormwater, unlike sanitary sewage, does not go through a treatment facility, anything that makes it into the catch basins ultimately will end up in the Chesapeake Bay eventually. A few days later, depending how long it is, or sooner, it will end up in a surface water body. So the permit requires, as one of its minimum control measures, and there's 6 of those that govern the execution of the permit, that the permittee, in this case the city of Annapolis, have a program to detect illicit discharges, and then once you've detected them, to eliminate those. The civil action, now part of the concern had been when we began to look at this, really pursuant to silt leaving sites, which is an illicit discharge. We did a lot of work with the Environmental Matters Committee, in which we took an entirely comprehensive look at our legislation that governed and procedures, protocols that governed the way that we dealt with that particular pollutant. And I was able to find, working with some of our county partners, beefier legislation that provides more than the $1,000 cap that the current fine is. So our fines before started, we would typically start them at $250, then if it's a repeat offender, maybe $500, and then a really egregious occurrence, $1,000. That wasn't really felt to be weighty enough. So we found that by enforcing the municipal statutes, you are relegated to those caps. If you enforce the state statute, the fines are a lot higher, and that's what these are. That's what these cover. So if you have, let's take the criminal matter. Suppose you had a person who snuck out at 2 in the morning with some oil and was dumping it into a basin. Well, clearly they are not an innocent party. They're sort of, a criminal. That's a criminal act, and they're taking steps not to be discovered and to sort of do their deed and get away with it. Well, that would be prosecuted. The state statute allows us to fine them for not more than $5,000 a day. For civil actions, any kind of infraction that if you had like a person or an offender who was not really complying with the city's directives or was really egregious with their behavior. Suppose you had a construction site that was really terrible and the builder is not cooperating with the city. You can then take them to court under the civil statutes, and the fines are as adumbrated here in this document. So really the key is to enforce the state statutes and not so much the municipal statutes. Municipal statutes, we are, again, do not want to be heavy-handed with how we are dispensing fines, because that is not the intent of the department. I don't really think that's effective either. We really want compliance, and we want the builders to cooperate with the city. And that works better. We don't want an adversarial relationship in construction. That never works. It only benefits the attorneys. It doesn't benefit either party. So these here are options that the city has available to it in its arsenal, that if we are dealing with a egregious offender, one who is just absolutely not going to cooperate, is just going to want to do what they want to do, then we can take them to court and these fines would apply.
And two questions, I didn't see where they were addressed before at all in the fine schedule, unless I'm missing it.
These are new, and these come out of the ordinance.
Okay, so they're totally new.
Right, they're totally new.
Okay.
If you look in, let me just refresh my memory if I recorded it, where, if you look within 03821, let me see where. I think it's in the fine section of it. I don't remember what the number is, but you will see that it speaks to both civil and criminal.
Oh, that's why it didn't. I got it.
And the fines are not put in the ordinance; they're covered in the resolution, and that's what this is.
Right, and the $1,000 before was your typical.
Right. That was the municipal. That's the cap that we're limited to. If we put it under, if we sort of write the fine for 17 for the municipal section, but if we wrote it for the state statute, for violation of the state statute, the fines are a lot higher.
Yep.
So that's a strategy that
Yeah.
could be used to gain
this is a little bit
compliance. And
different.
ultimately, we want compliance. We're not in the
Yeah, I know.
business of making money by fining people. We don't really want to do that. We really want you to cooperate with us, and you find that the Public Works Department works really hard to gain compliance from the contractors and developers that we are responsible for overseeing. But we do have an enforcement role to play, and if we have to, we are not shy to do it.
Okay, so you're basically introducing a tool if we need it. and
If we
it's
need
in-
it, yes.
And it's in line with the state, so it's
Correct.
fairly
That is correct.
evaluated.
Yes.
Questions? No. All right, well, thank you very much, Director Johnson. We are out of fees, we're done with fees and fines. So thank you, everyone,
Thank
for helping us with those. And everyone okay if we just keep going? I don't see Tola here, but we are, we'd like the Office of OEM and the Mayor's Office to step up together. Kate, you can come up. Okay, yeah, I'd like, let me frame this so that, yeah, is, right. Kate, are you speaking for Tola, or do we want him to?
Tola had to step out for a moment, Madam Chair, but I've just texted him. He was coming right back, so he should join us
Okay.
momentarily.
Well, as a finance committee, let me frame this as far as just the financial reasons why we asked for this. There's extensive money in grants, and they have different definitions. And as I said yesterday, it looks like some of the lines are blurry. We're not really sure. So I propose that the best way to do this is that we go over each grant line item. Okay? Agreed? Yep. And as it relates to the opioid effort, let's do it that way. So in our, but in the mayor's budget, there's a grant section. And the first grant that I saw relating to this, and I'm just going to go over some that aren't applicable to our discussion, but I'll mention them anyways. Okay, there are state grants. The state grants, I think we just need, for clarity, a synopsis, Kate, on page 29. I have Mayor's Office has a Lead Annapolis program. COAP, I don't know what that means, it's coming from the state, and what the proposed is $526,617. What I learned yesterday is that that pays for a new employee, and then I assume their efforts, and that this is in conjunction with the police department. Is that correct? And what does COAP mean, Kate? Bear with me, Director Simmons. This is part of the review.
Thanks, Madam Chair. Good morning, everyone. Yes, I understand. We have a formal partnership with the APD through the LEAD program. We have a program manager who's employed, so that covers the first part. And the last part was, what does you asked about a particular
The COAP, I don't know what that means.
Yes, the COAP, and Tola's with us. So, Tola, we're asking about COAP as part of the LEAD program, and that's where you can help with some of the details, which I'm still learning. So.
Yeah, we're on the LEAD program, and if it relates to health outreach, we can talk about both together, but let's continue on the LEAD effort. And with
I'm trying to find the acronym. Oh, how you doing? One second, I'm just trying to find what the acronym means.
Yes, and if you could introduce yourself.
Yes. Adetola Ajayi, African American Community Service Specialist, Mayor's Office.
Okay, yeah, I did not know what COAP meant.
City of Annapolis Partnership, is that what it means?
Oh, maybe City of
No,
something
Okay.
police?
it's a state actual acronym.
Alrighty. Yeah, so, while we're looking that up, it also, let me ask it this way. We carried forward from fiscal year 2022, $251,000, $617, over $250,000. We carried over, we have an additional grant for $275,000, totaling $526,000. I understand the new employee, but what else does that include, and who in the mayor's office is leading the charge? I assume it's this new hire. Just want to see how the money is allocated, if you agree.
Thanks, Madam Chair. We're still talking lead, aren't we?
Yes, we are.
Yes.
Yes.
So Tolan Managers oversees the lead program.
Okay.
Richard Egan is our new lead program manager.
Okay,
So
the new
Richard is actually doing the work on the ground.
Okay. All right. So this, in essence, almost pays for two positions, if I can ask that question?
I don't think there's no money going towards Tola's position.
Okay.
It covers Richard Egan, the program manager, Richard Reynolds, I beg your pardon,
that's
Richard
okay.
Reynolds.
Yeah.
I apologise.
No problem.
2 weeks in, I'm still learning all the details and the names. So it covers Richard's position, and it covers other costs as well, I understand. Tola, you might want to speak to the other costs.
Okay. So currently, it only covers the cost of payroll to pay Richard. As we are working on the RFP, which will probably be completed by the end of May, then we will be looking for a intensive case management firm to actually work with the persons who will be diverted. So that. I would say 400,000 or 200,000 a year approximately will be used to pay for the intensive case management firm.
So it's a program that's addressed in the mayor's office with one person overseeing another person and some other efforts involved.
Okay, so sorry.
I don't want to mention names, but I just want to make sure the money is appropriated or at least estimated.
So COAP means Comprehensive Opioid Abuse Program.
Oh, boy. All right, so there we go again. The Lines of Glory has the word opioid in it.
Well, I think from the state's perspective, they recognize that reaching low-level offenders, particularly nonviolent offenders that have a history of mental health and substance abuse, would be would help, recidivism rates, as well as keep law enforcement able to do other more critical crime.
Okay, so this is a big deal, and it's a big a bucket of money, and it's a very important program. Identified in the mayor's office. Do you have any questions, colleagues, on this? Yes,
I do.
And Lisa.
What is the LEAD program? Specifically, the objectives that we are taking on as part of our commitment to receiving this grant?
So it's law enforcement assisted diversion. And it
I'm sorry,
is
law enforcement what?
assisted diversion. So this is a program to strengthen our police, APD's relationship in the community, as well as lower the the circumstances for individuals residing in the city to have to deal with the criminal justice system.
So how do you do that? What
So-
exactly is this case management firm going to be doing for us?
Okay, so prior to the former project manager leaving, we had developed a list of divertible crimes, which are all low-level, non-violent crimes, and so
Prior who leaving?
prior to the old project manager for the lead program,
Who was that?
Katie Edwards.
Okay.
Madam Chair, if I may, the LEAD program has actually been operating over several years. This is not a new program, so I'm not quite sure the history here and budget stuff, but it has been in place for a while now, since 2021. Is that right, Tola? 2021.
So I just, and I'm sorry to interrupt you, Alderman Chu, but I just want to make sure that we're all in the same framework here. I'm worried about interface with other departments, overlap, and where is the effort best included? Where can we minimize redundancy? And what is the most effective way to do this? We can't make management decisions, but I basically want to know where they stand right now.
Okay.
Okay? Continue, sorry.
Well, I guess you were getting to what I was trying to get to. Police are not at the table with us this morning. I'm still trying, and yes, we've heard about this program for some time now, but still not clear on what they do.
Right.
What changes have occurred in the city as a result of this program? You know, the other departments, when they came before us, they gave us their goals, their objectives, and how they're measuring those goals and objectives. We need to see the same thing for all of our programs. You know, we're getting a lot of money from the state, and I'm not sure we can account for it if we don't have any documentation saying what we're doing. So I want to hear how this program has positively impacted the opioid addiction in the city of Annapolis over the last year or 2 years, but particularly over the last year. How have things improved as a result of this program?
All right. So the program has not officially launched, so there's no data I could provide. I could only, let you know the relationships that have been built through Richard, particularly with APD, with the Chief Jackson and the reentry program. So, like I said, the RFP is a critical piece in actually being able to divert people. So once that's completed, I would say, we can come back and show you some results, but I don't have any results to show you because the program hasn't officially launched yet.
How far away is Captain McGrath?
Madam Chair,
Needs to be here.
I'm sorry, I was from our discussion yesterday, I was understanding that you were asking me to go back and speak to our staff and provide a written overview of all of these issues and how the program is operating, the plan for the program, how we're formally managing the relationships with police and other stakeholders. So that was my understanding, and we haven't got information. I haven't got all that information in front of me for you this morning because I understand our conversation today was about OEM. So I apologise that I haven't followed that up for you in time.
Yeah, that's fair. I didn't realize this had opioid in it as well.
Yeah, and I think there is some confusion because all of these programs have cross relationships. But LEAD is not an opioid treatment or intervention program as its main objective. It is a diversion program for low-risk offenders to move them out of the criminal justice system. Many of those low-risk offenders will have some, opioid use history or misuse history. So there is overlap there, but its actual purpose is diversion out of criminal justice to provide alternative pathways for low-risk offenders.
I'll defer back to Alderwoman Finlayson. I don't think she was finished.
Well, I apologize because you're new.
I know.
And we ask for a lot and we don't give you any time.
I know.
To gather it. So we understand that. You know, Director Simmons and Ms. MK are here.
I know. We got kind of stuck on
Yeah,
this. I
so-
thought it would be easier.
So,
Yeah. Well, what we would like is sort of a white paper, for lack of a better word, on this program. But at the same time, the conundrum is, we know that the Annapolis Police Department has a similar program, or at least some kind of program on reentry and retraining. I know I went to a graduation and blah, blah, blah. So I guess the white paper will address that interface with the police department and to address our concern about, who manages this effort and who's responsible for the reporting and the, managing of over $600,000. That's what we need to feel good about.
Absolutely, and absolutely that is understood. There is another diversion program that is run out of the police department, and that is a diversion program for offenders who are coming back into the community after out of prison. Yeah, so there is that program. LEAD is trying to come in at the other end before serious crimes and court interventions take
So they're
place.
separate.
And I will be very happy to pull that white paper together for you this afternoon and give you that information.
Whatever,
Yeah, so it is a new program. There have been expressions of this in the past, but we are now at a stage where we are asking for significantly more money to employ the program more comprehensively. That's my understanding of where we're at in 2023. So I'm very happy to go and get all the program details for you with Tola's assistance and provide that to you in writing.
Okay.
May I ask, could we see or have a copy of the RFP that's going out? Because that might help clarify some things for us. What are we asking this agency to do for us? Because I contend that we still have to have some data. We have to know how many people are being touched and how many people we're being successful with. So that's the ultimate goal.
Absolutely. Yes, we'll include that with the information.
Okay.
Thank you.
Director Simmons, I apologize. Because we're here, I just want to ask this question, and hopefully it's a very short answer. The next grant is this health outreach. Is that related to opioids? What is that? There was a carryover of 25, another $100,000 grant for a total of $125,000. Who manages that grant and what is it for?
Madam Chair, that's under the mayor's office, and that's Laura Gutierrez.
Oh, okay. Thank you. All right, then we're now for what we're here for. And the way I want to do this, we have a menu of county grants. I'm on page 31 of the budget book. Hold on. Yeah, revenues. County grant revenues. That's money coming in. And I'm going to go through first the Office of Emergency Management. And there's a menu of there's 4 grants under that department. That means that those grants are monitored by the Office of Emergency Management. I got thrown a curve yesterday when Alderman Gay questioned 1, needing more money because it was managed by the mayor's office. And so let's just go through them line by line. And I think that's the best way to do this. So the first one is OIT, which I don't know what that means, APD, substance use disorder for $10,000. Is number 1, is that managed by the Office of Emergency Management? And what is that? Thank you for being here, and thank you for your patience.
Madam Chair, not a problem. And members of the Finance Committee, I'm back again. Thanks for having us. To my left is M.K. Severowski. She's a senior planner in my office, and she gives administrative oversight to our substance use disorder program. So if I can take you through a couple of slides, I can make you understand how this thing is built.
Okay.
If I can do that.
Okay.
So let's go to the first slide.
Oh,
This is at the OIT, the Opioid Intervention Team, and you might
it's on
be.
here. Oh,
We
I'm just
sent
gonna
you that so you can
That's
see it
okay,
on
I'm
your
looking it up.
tablet if if you need to. And this will show you how everything fits together. And I think that's an important part of this, because we don't have NAM working by themselves. We don't have the police department working by themselves and OEM doing their own thing. We all work together under this org structure. So if you start at the top, we're ultimately responsible to the health officer, Dr. Kalyana Raman. And you have under that the Office of Emergency Management, the police department, fire department, and the mayor's office. And as you go down further on the right, we're greatly supported by the city manager and the public safety chair. Go to the left and you'll see prevention in green. So these are the top 4 programs that are funded by grants in our OIT, our opioid intervention team. It's NAM-related programs. It's Your Life Matters from the fire department. It's OD-Free Annapolis from OEM. And there's what we call the APD SUD, Substance Use Disorder Program, and that's in the police department. So we're all working together. That's all under prevention, and I'll talk to you about how the grants go. So the enforcement part of the police helps us out with their drug bust and all that. That's the enforcement part. We have harm reduction, fentanyl strips, Narcan distribution and training, syringe exchange from the health department, and other harm reduction strategies. We go over the treatment, the crisis response system, and that's Jen Corbin, who you're all familiar with, safe stations in the police department, the SUD Bedfinder Program. And what that is that's something that came out of our MIT department and OEM, and it's a process that helps them find treatment beds faster. We have recovery houses with Angel Trainer, we have treatment centers, and we have the Wellmobile, who actually services Ward 4 and Ward 6 once a week. And then on the far right, we have quality of life. And all of this is a part of the opioid intervention team. Quality of life is employment and employment training, financial literacy, mentoring and support, expungement of minor crimes and records. The APD's reentry program is a part of all of this, and we're trying to get Annapolis as a recovery supportive city. So now you know how all of this is set up, and we're all working together. It's not a separate operation. Can you go to the next slide? So part of the premier programs, one of the 4 is NAM. And basically NAM is concerned with community education and prevention. This program engages the community by hosting engagement sessions and creating multimedia prevention campaigns. Next slide. We have the APD SUD program, Substance Use Disorder Program, and that takes a 2-prong approach by combating the substance use disorder in the city. The first prong is rooted in education and prevention. That's where the officers and the civilian staff work together to bring prevention program-based programs to at-risk youth in hotspot areas. The second prong focuses on response, harm reduction, treatment, and recovery. So in the red is highlighting what they're responsible for. Next program. And that's Captain Aaron Edwards, and he runs the Your Life Matters program from the fire department. And all this is going to come under grant funding. And their priority is community Narcan training, distribution, and response. Next. And we have the final of the 4 programs. That's OD-Free Annapolis, and that's from OEM. That's kind of the umbrella program and provides administrative oversight over all of these programs. And we focus on prevention, education, treatment, enforcement, harm reduction, quality of life issues, and recovery. Next. So our programs have been in effect since a little after 2017. We work together, and This is the article from Sunday, February 6, 2022, and it says it all. You know, we're seeing success in this program. Our fatal overdoses were down by 42%. Our overdoses in general are down by 33%. So we're seeing some success in these programs. Next slide. So we model our program after best practices. The grantor does not allow double dipping. So we can't have, we have prevention in NAM and we have prevention in the police department. However, NAM is more of a general prevention program where the police department focuses on youth. So we have to be very, very careful not to duplicate efforts. I have the responsibility to ensure coordination. Back in 2017, when the governor declared a war on opioids, he deployed the 26 emergency managers to coordinate across the state.
Right.
And I'm considered the governor's appointee. The mayor actually picks his emergency manager, then it's appointed by the governor.
Is that still in effect?
It is.
All
I
right.
had to go down to court and take an oath once the mayor appointed me in Annapolis. And as you know, we supply all the alder people a monthly report every month on our progress. And these monthly reports are specific to your ward, not a general report. We dig deep. Next. So how do we come up with the numbers that we come up with? The budget is created by program coordinators, in which TOLA is one and MK is one, and it's based on their needs to implement their programs to the fullest extent possible. A detailed budget, narrative, and justification is required for each program. We apply for, every year we apply for about $100,000 from the state. It takes about $100,000 to run all 4 of those programs. We have not been successful in that $100,000. So what happens usually is Dr. Kalyana Rahman, through a health department grant, gives us about $35,000. And then we came to you all last year asking for $65,000, which you all were graciously gave us last year. And I think that made the difference. That made, we could apply that to the programs. Our programs could be robust, and you've seen the numbers. The numbers were going down. I think you can attribute that directly to that. Next slide, too. So let me tell you what we did last year real quick, and then we could talk about this year. So FY 22, which we're still in, this is the $35,000 from the health department. So in OD free, it went to contract services, $10,000 for an assistant project coordinator, and a supplies account of $1,500, and that was supplies for us as well as other programs. For the police department, the APD SUD program, contract services, $5,000 for a part-time specialist that actually, after an overdose, they reach out to the family and the person that's overdosed and say, hey, look, what kind of resources can we help you? Can we help you get treatment? So that's a direct reach out. Overtime for officer and civilian staff and benefits, and then $2,000 for outreach supplies, snacks for youth participants when they do that outreach. Your Life Matters, which is the fire department, overtime is $6,000. $6,000 in overtime and benefits for fire EMS, the staff, Your Life Matters events. $1,500 for supplies, outreach materials for Your Life Matters, and that comes to a total of $7,500. So NAM antidote, we have contract services, $300, and that's for, $3,000 for event photographer, video services, PSAs, webisodes, graphic design services, and then we have $3,000 in supplies for printing services and outreach gear and equipment for a total of $6,000. And that encompasses the $35,000 that the health department gives us, and we'll be doing something similar in FY '23. So if you would go to the next slide. So the council was gracious to respond to our request of $65,000, and this is where that went. Again, remember, OD-free Annapolis, which is OEM, acts as a parent account, an umbrella group, giving administrative support to all of these programs. So contract services, we had $16,000, and that paid for field support liaisons. We have a field support liaison in Ward 4 and Ward 6 that pays their salaries. $14,000 in supplies to support the substance use disorder outreach and education. And again, this is for some of the other programs to use that money. Training and education, we had $11,000. 2 weeks ago, we sent 5 personnel to Atlanta to attend the heroin conference. Tola was one of them. We had 2 people from OEM. We had 2 people from police. Am I missing anybody? It was 5. Overtime for $5,000 for police and fire. Overtime costs, because when police and fire usually send folks out to these programs, they're off duty, and it's an overtime cost to that. And that includes the benefits, and that totaled to $46,000. So Naptown Antidote, they wanted $19,000 for a salary for a part-time NAM coordinator position. They got that. So if you total what NAM got with the $6,000 and then the $19,000, they have a total of $25,000 for this year, this fiscal year, FY '22. Any questions so far? Next slide. So basically, what we're projecting here at FY '23 is that we will get the block grant from the health department, hopefully. Since Dr. Chan has been there, we've always got a block grant. So I'm hopeful that we get the block grant. And basically, we don't have the projects specified yet, but here's what we think, and you can just look that over and all, but this comes to about $35,000 for the block grant. Next page, please.
I do have a question.
Sure.
Yeah.
Is this 35 in the mayor's budget?
Is that?
Yeah.
I think we
35
noted
is-
that.
The 35,000 is in the mayor's budget.
Okay,
Yeah.
so this screen, this shot, whatever page it is, it's in the mayor's budget.
So these are all grants, so they're in the
Right.
grants budget?
This is a grant from the health department, yes, so I think it's
Okay.
projected in the mayor's budget.
Couldn't hear
Yeah.
what you said.
Okay.
But that's been confirmed, so we have, and we put this in the budget as grants. I just want to confirm.
Correct, it's on page 31.
Page 31, if you go to page 31 in the mayor's budget, and bear with us, Kevin, because your next slide is going to totally throw us.
Boom.
I see this, and this is different on page 31 than what I'm reading on
I
the
think it
screen.
matches up.
The total matches, and if you look at,
75, 75.
it does say APD. Is this what we were talking about earlier? Yeah. So the totals match up. OD-free is.
Yeah, the subtotals are a little bit
Right,
different.
and so what happens, this happens every year with majority of the grants, right? We ask them in January, hey, tell us what you're gonna spend, like, tell us what you need by July, right?
Yeah.
So they don't have everything figured out. Your totals, what you really wanna look at, and we do that that shift internally.
Okay, so
But I
regardless.
would go off, obviously, they know better now at this point what they're
Yeah.
gonna
Right.
need, so,
So it still totals 35,000.
that's correct.
And that's
And that's what
confirmed.
you're approving.
Okay.
So, okay, here's my question. The county gives us 35,000, and then the Office of Emergency Management breaks it up into those subcategories?
Yes, with we consult with the program coordinators and find
In
out what
each-
their needs
okay.
are, right? So we don't arbitrarily do it ourselves. We
Okay.
have meetings with them, say, what is your need? What are you trying to accomplish? And we
Okay.
make sure there's no redundancy in there.
Okay, so Okay.
Go ahead.
Well, so right now, it's very clear that's in the mayor's budget. So, the next slide, we're going to have to walk it through. Go ahead.
So,
May I ask? I just want to be clear what I think I heard you say. There are requests that come in. You don't make a decision and allocate who gets what, but it's based on the request from these four groups.
not at all. We actually have the program managers, we meet with them. Our OIT meets every other month, and we talk about issues, we talk about progress, we look at our fatal overdoses, and we kind of examine them. So this time of year, we're meeting with them, and we had a meeting with the folks who actually went to the heroin summit, and at the end of that meeting, I said, hey, look, MK is going to be reaching out to you all shortly to find out what your needs are. You know, I put in an enhancement for $70,000. Plus, we have the money that we are expecting to come through from the health department, and we want to know what your needs and your resource needs are.
Okay.
So
I just want to be clear that these are requests. These are not your allocations.
no,
Okay. Thank
never
you.
been.
And you but ultimately, you do the grant paperwork.
We are the
Requesting the
we are the
respective-
administrators. We
Okay.
are the administrators.
Okay. So the next slide is, you're going to have to tell us, Director Dickinson, if this is in the budget and where it is.
It is not, it's an enhancement request, not in the mayor's budget.
Okay, that's going to throw us. City Manager, can you address that?
Yeah, so the $35,000 is a grant. The $70,000 would basically match up to what the council provided for this current year for additional funding.
Where is
We
that?
didn't fund it because we hope that we will get some of the opioid settlement money. But if we don't, then we would be strongly supportive of this additional $70,000
Okay.
for the program.
So we cross that bridge when we come to it.
Well, Madam
Yes, that's-
Chair, I think we're at that bridge now. Are we going to decide?
Well, I
Well,
just
last year we did it during the year, so we have the $35,000 to get us through a portion of the year. We'll know based on the pulse that we're going to keep. We'll keep our, how was it that you said that? We'll keep our
fingers on the pulse.
fingers on the pulse, and then we'll come back to you if we need this additional money, or if we get the opioid settlement money.
So we're all on notice that it's going to come back to us.
It will one way or the other, because if we get the opioid money, that'll have to be appropriated. So either way, it'll come back.
So there's a strong possibility that that opioid money will come in for fiscal year 2023.
I can't gauge how strong that possibility is,
I know.
but
Jody's got a crystal ball under her desk over there. I can kind of
All right, so we're watching that. I understand the logic. Okay.
So I have a question about.
So that reflects, again, what Katie explained is that we don't have each line item in there yet. You know, we haven't met with the program managers, coordinators. We're starting that process now, so we'll have a better picture of the resource needs of each program once we complete that process.
Yeah, the fact that you didn't carry over any money from fiscal year 2022, tells us that you've got a pretty measly budget, but you can operate as such until noted otherwise.
Right.
You're not coming to a halt or anything like that.
Right.
And you'll let us know
we-
if you reach that point. Wow, that is so little money. Anyways, go ahead, Alderwoman O'Neill.
So my question was, like, in this instance, in 2022, the Naptown Anti-Dope had $19,000 for salary for part-time, but this placeholder only has 15.
If you plug in the grant, it should be up to 25. So if you take into consideration the 35,000 for the grant from the health department, and then it has 15 for Naptown Antidote from the 70,000, if you add all that stuff up, it should be about 25,000 that they
Okay.
get totally.
Between the two of them, okay. I think
Okay.
we might need
And
this
those numbers
revised.
go up for each each program as well. Because
Okay.
you gotta add in that 35,000 from the health department. That's all part of this.
Okay.
Program.
And then how does this coincide, this goes back to the mayor's office, with the no harm VIP? And what is that program and how is it separate from these?
Okay, are we ready for that? You ready for that? We're ready for that.
Sorry.
Thanks. I'll start by just summarising and then I'll let Tola answer any detailed questions. No harm VIP.
Excuse me, Madam Chair, I had a couple of questions from the no harm. Is that okay, or you want me to wait?
The no harm being the mayor's.
Presentation just by Director Simmons. Or do you want to move on to?
No, I just want to be specific on what category you're addressing.
The one, no, the one that Director Simmons just presented.
Right, he addressed the allocation of $35,000 of grant money into 4 separate.
Yeah, I just had 2 questions about that presentation.
Okay.
If you want to move to no harm and then wait for the other questions, I'll wait.
No, that's fine. I just, for the no harm meaning, wait a minute, we're not talking about no harm.
Madam Chair,
Presentation.
I realise the names are very similar and it is a little confusing.
Yeah, Alderwoman Pintel-Charles, the no harm is a separate grant.
Right,
But the NAM is not no harm. And the NAM is run by the mayor's office under the supervision of OEM. And I think that number is a little bit different than what we see here. So is that your question related to NAM under the mayor's office, what Kevin just spoke of?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, I have a question about that.
NAM standing for what?
Naptown Anti-Dope Movement.
Right, the shirt, yeah, I have a shirt, and that's, that's in the mayor's office, yeah.
I had a question for Director Simmons.
Yeah.
Is that okay?
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
Well, one statement, one question. And Madam Chair, you had mentioned that there was nothing carried over from the fiscal year 22 budget. And you're absolutely right, but I guess I look at the other side of it, and you had a 42 reduction rate. So I guess my point is the money was very well spent from that situation. Is that correct?
That is correct.
So thank you for that. The other question I had, I guess in 25 words or less, you indicated that several people went to the Atlanta conference. I guess just a general overview of how that went, what was learned, what was gleaned, or did you want to wait for that?
No, I guess in 25 words or less, Tola can comment it since he was on the front line and he actually went to the conference. Oh, sir.
Kevin, while we're talking, can you go to that slide again that breaks out the $35,000?
For which fiscal year?
That breaks out the $35,000 for fiscal year 2023. What's before us?
That one?
Okay, sorry to interrupt, but, okay. We need a definition of each of those. Because we're still confused on Naptown anti-dope being called no harm.
I'll turn it over to MK and she's going to talk about that.
So when you say definition, you mean for each program?
Yeah,
Okay.
yes.
So we do OEM, also MK Saborowski, Emergency Management. OEM administers that $35,000.
Yep.
Each department said, hey, we have a great idea that we want to use this funding for. So we said, sure. So although they stem from those departments, they all fall under OD free, right? So when you go back a couple of slides and we review what each program does, that's directly related to the $35,000. That is what their core focus is. If there's anything extra outside that they decide to get funding from elsewhere, that's totally fine and we support it. But for the 35, those key bolded words are what we focus on for that kind of funding.
Okay.
Does that make sense?
Well, here's my test.
Okay.
I'm going to start from the bottom up because I know the Naptown anti-dope is run out of the mayor's, is from the mayor's office.
Yep.
They're great. They're a good idea. Okay. Your Life Matters, I think is the APD.
Fire department.
Oh, see.
So that's the hands-only CPR. That's Captain Edwards and the fire department staff going out, training people on how to use Narcan.
Narcan,
And
yep.
all, yep.
And I've been at his kiosk where he does that. Okay. The next one is obviously, sorry, that's APD.
Yep.
SUD means what?
Substance use disorder. So that's the two-prong approach program where they target youth prevention, and then they do the response, the recovery, the treatment centers with an officer and a SUD specialist team. So they do the enhanced follow-ups after overdoses, they do the tracking, the documentation, and all that stuff.
Okay. And then OD-free Annapolis is yours.
Right. That's OD-free is the umbrella program. That's what we kind of call everything, because everything
Yep.
leads to an overdose-free Annapolis. And then that is, funding the ward reports that you get. That handles the dashboard that is public-facing that anybody can go to get city-specific data as almost as real-time as we can get, right? So these program descriptions genuinely have not changed from previous years. What we're saying here in this slide is we're continuing those programs with that amount of money that you see for 35. Right. With the hopes of getting additional funding. So this 35 is like a skeleton. This is the bare minimum that these programs told us that they could operate off of.
Right.
And then if we end up getting more money, we just supplement it where need be to get them to where they need to be to fully implement those programs.
And you will will monitor that for us.
The hopes of sending people to conferences and to all these other events is to have them bring back new ideas that we can implement, or just modify the programs to add a component to it. So if we know something's working, we can add more money to it to do more of it. If they want to change something, we can say, great, we can take this money that we have that's, previously unaccounted for and say we can do what we were doing before and add to it because we have the funding to do so.
Let me ask this question. Are those requests vetted by you? So those requests ultimately come to us from you as the manager of this county grant for $35,000.
Right. So what we do is every year we have to put together an application, whether it be for the health department or for the state, right? And in that application, it is required to have a detailed budget and a narrative for each program. So I sit down sometimes with Director Simmons, sometimes with the project coordinators themselves or their supervisors, and I say, tell me what you need. Tell me how we're going to run these programs at the fullest extent. So we always want to reach for 100,000 or more, right? Because in previous years, that's what we've needed to run the programs. That's what we submit for. But we always have a plan B that says, if we don't get any of that and we get 35 at minimum, because that's what the health department typically provides, the $35,000.
Yeah.
We say, what can you do with $35,000? And then we work with all the program coordinators to break it down so that everybody gets a fair share of that 35 to implement as best they can.
What's frustrating for me to understand is that this is an initiative coming from the governor, and we only get $35,000, where I just heard the county's budget addressing the same issue. Why don't they give us more money? I just don't understand why that's so unfair. I don't mean to be subjective, but I have to be.
So each year, the Opioid Operational Command Center, known as the OOC,
Okay.
they offer grant opportunities. This year, they've been hitting the correctional facilities hard with their grant opportunities. We've applied this is our third application for grant opportunities. We've been successful 0 times. We're hoping the third time's a charm. Meanwhile, we still have people dying on the streets of Annapolis from overdoses. So we need to move on and figure out alternate means of getting funding to curb this stuff. And that's been our challenge for the last few years.
Yeah, I know the council wrote a resolution that you would have that included in your request, saying, we're fully in support of needing this money. Okay.
So we're about to apply for a OOC grant, which is due June. We're meeting with the program coordinators, right? We think it's going to be 100,000 plus, and also fingers crossed.
Okay.
I think we put together a good package. Plus, they're tired of hearing from me at the state, so hopefully they'll give that due consideration, and we'll let you know. So if we get that grant, we're good to go.
Yeah, that's breathing room.
We're good to go.
Yeah.
If we get the grant, we won't receive the $35,000 from the health department. We won't receive that.
Oh, it's
They
one
give
or
us-
the other?
Yep, it's one or the other. So,
It's only 65,000 then.
so if we get the grant, we won't need the 65,000 as well. So we'll be covered. 70,000 will be covered. You know, we're only asking for these funds because we need them. If we can get a grant subsidy with this, we're golden.
Okay,
But that's going to be a tough one, but we're going to try.
okay. Are there any questions before we move on to the no harm?
I just want to,
Well, my question was going
go.
to be about no harm and NAM VIP, but if that's where we're going next, I'll wait.
So I just want to say one thing. As I was listening to the mayor's office presentation, the Comprehensive Opioid Abuse Program grant, you have that grant, right? Yes. Okay, so that's not considered a part of the OIT at this point.
What is that
That's
grant?
being,
That pays for leave.
that's
Wait,
being
time out,
managed
time
on.
out, no.
Just leave.
Wait a minute, I've got you so far, so I just want to lose you. What is that?
So the initial presentation, when the mayor was presenting,
Yes,
they talked about a comprehensive opioid abuse program, and it's a state grant that they have right now.
COAP.
So that's a part of their lead program. I just want to make sure for clarity for the finance committee to let them know that that is not a part of the Annapolis opioid intervention team, that big framework that I just talked to you about.
right. I mean, we've got them in our budget categorized separately.
Okay.
Are you saying that grant that money is included in the lead money?
Yes.
Yes.
And I'm saying that that's, at this point, it's not a part of the Annapolis OIT framework. In other
But it
words,
does involve opioids.
it does involve opioids, yes. And this is the first time I've heard of the grant, and I'd like to know more.
Me too, us
But-
too.
But at this point, it's not a part of the opioid intervention team as presented by me today.
Yeah,
And I just didn't want you all to leave confused about that grant and all the other grants for the opioid intervention team.
yeah. I mean, we didn't know until we asked what the COAP stood for. And again, we all want the same thing. This is to address an
Absolutely.
epidemic. And we
Absolutely.
just want to know that it's as effective as possible in the mayor's budget.
Oh, Madam Chair.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Oh, sorry, yeah.
Just wanted clarification. It does have opioid in the title, but from the Governor's Office of Crime Control and Prevention, they wanted to focus on giving law enforcement tools to assist with the opioid epidemic, right? But it doesn't just deal with opioids, where
No.
these programs are specifically focused on opioids, particularly, the YT program, including NAM.
I would suggest that be coordinated with Director Simmons, at least that he knows what that O is in that, what opioid effort is in that. Is that a fair question? Or can somebody ask it better than I right now? 'Cause-
Madam Chair.
Sorry, Kate.
So no, this is all right, and I apologise.
I
I am new,
apologise.
and I am still learning all of these details, and very grateful to my colleagues here today who
Yes,
can answer
as-
more of that detail
us
than
as
I
well.
can just yet. But the lead program, which is where the COAP comes from, or COAD comes from, is not an opioid intervention program. It's not designed to minimise and reduce opioid use and opioid fatalities and injuries. It's a criminal justice intervention program. It has this component to it because a lot of the people, it has this opioid sort of part to it, because a lot of the people who will be part of this program, who will be come in as low-risk offenders and then will be diverted out through the criminal justice system, and the idea is to move them out of that system, there will be, a lot of that will be related to opioid use. So it is part of where the program is kind of targeting its intervention. But but it's designed to intervene when people come into the justice system. It's not treating the opioid epidemic in the community to intervene and prevent and save lives in the way that the programs operating out of the Office of Emergency Management are designed to do, and the way our NAM anti-dope program is designed to do.
It's unfortunate because it's a big budget. Alderwoman O'Neill.
And I just want to, I understand that it's not entirely meant as an opioid fix, is the word I'm going to use right now. But backing up to what Director Simmons had said prior is that we couldn't overlap with services because we would lose state money. Is that a concern with this 526,000 that we are overlapping with some of the things that are going through the OEM?
I believe not, because LEAD is a separate program. It's funded through a separate grant, and it's a criminal justice intervention program. So it's not trying to provide the same services as the Naptown Anti-Dope Movement, or NAM, and it's not trying to provide the same services and intervention as the programs that OEM is managing. It's a different, completely different program funded through a completely different grant with a different focus.
Okay. But it's still coming from the state, where some of the others are coming from the state.
Well, the OIT money is coming from the health department, the county health department. So the LEAD program is funded through the state's Governor's Office of Crime Control and Prevention, not the State Department of Health.
Okay. Thank you.
Yep.
May I
Yes.
ask a question? I think what's missing for me is the police component. They're not at the table. And again, we're talking about overlap. So does the mayor's office have a grant that directly impacts the police department? And what is their role? Because I heard you say it's to encourage how the police function when folks are being released. Did I misunderstand that?
Yes. So, for example, I stress again, the program has not launched, so we don't have data to back this up, but this is an example of how it would work. A person would be have to interact with a police officer, and depending on the level of crime, the officer has the choice to call the lead director and have them meet with the case manager. If this person is not eligible, I mean, if they don't think that this person would be a good fit for lead, they do not have to divert them.
They do not have to what?
Divert them away from being incarcerated.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
So how does the police fit into, are they partners with you?
Absolutely.
Okay.
So this program, our program manager works directly with the police. And so when you have a low risk offender, it's a lower level sort of crime, the police can identify the person rather than to pursue them through the normal criminal justice processes. They notify the case manager and the lead program manager, and this person becomes a candidate for the lead intervention. And that's designed to then start to address the circumstances and issues that have led them into this situation, and identify what alternative opportunities, training, support can help them move out into a better pathway. I hope that makes sense.
If I could just add, and those discussions have been going on for some time, so it's unfortunate. We thought we were just having a discussion of opioids and not so much lead, or we would have had police here, because Chief Jackson is a big supporter of this, and so he could have been very articulate describing how this coordination has happened. But when Katie, the last program manager, was here, she dealt very closely with the police to try and work out all the logistics and all the coordination involved with this program. What types of offenses would be potentially covered under this, where it could be alternative treatment, but also some of the logistics, like where is the case manager going to meet when they get called in, when somebody gets arrested potentially, and then the case manager gets called in and meets with the suspect. So they've been working through all of those details. I think we're probably getting closer to implementing this because of all those discussions, but police are definitely close partners for this program.
Yes, we had, we had 2 work groups that we've met. Like I said, when Katie left June of 2021, we had to, I took on a couple of responsibilities. We actually had the lead National Support Bureau meet here in Annapolis for the different jurisdictions in Maryland, and they recommended that I not do those things and that I hire a project manager. So as we, took time to hire the right person, Richard came on in January, so that's when he's been able to pick up this work. But we've already met, countless times at the state's attorney's office, different county representatives. At this point, the RFP is going through procurement and the legal department, and then we'll be able to share it with y'all.
Well, this has been the best description of this program, because now I have an understanding of what it does. And this speaks to us needing, and I keep saying documentation, to break it down so we really understand what it is. There's still one piece that's missing for me. Because we've hired the person.
Reynolds.
I don't want to call him Richard. What's his name?
Reynolds.
Mr. Reynolds. We've hired Mr. Reynolds. So he is going to do the facilitation, and I assume he's working very close with APD. So what does the case manager do that you have an RFP out for?
Well, we will put the RFP out. So Richard will be in charge of, one, coordinating all communications about the LEAD program, as well as reporting to the state and to the council, the mayor's office, as well as any issues that may arise between the case management clients. The case management people, once they're called in, they would help these people deal with whatever their issues are, per se. So if it's getting housing, getting a driver's license, getting employment, that's what this case management team would do. But first, I think they would really just deal with what is the person's potential mental health or substance use issue. And that's what Kate was saying, and why the governor's office put out a grant like this, I would assume, is because they found a lot of people that deal with the opioid issues, substance use disorders, that they do not really need to be in the criminal justice system if they can be diverted to a case management, intensive case management agency, like Arundel Lodge.
So Mr. Reynolds will be the person that works with APD to make sure that that case is referred, and then he will then refer them to the case management agency that we're hiring, who will then provide for them all the services or make the connections to the services so they're not incarcerated because of opioids. They may be incarcerated because they can't find a job or whatever. But, okay, I clearly understand what it is now. Thank you. Thank you.
Okay.
And I have a quick question kind of related to Alderwoman Finlayson's questioning. So if I am understanding this correctly, in 2022, we received $225,000 or so of grant money, and then we're receiving another $275,000 in grant money, if I can read it right.
Yep, you're right.
So 2 rounds of grant money, but we haven't started the program yet.
So I'm not exactly what date. I think 2020, we actually received the 500,000. Well, actually, we were approved for the 500,000, right? I think we have to reimburse the state after we spend the money.
So I don't have FY20 on this chart, so I have to go back to other records to see what we got in '20. what they're seeing here is a budget established in '22 for $258,000. Now, I don't know if you got that much every year, if that's left over from the original award.
So the original award was about 500 or so. The first year's funding was only 50,000 because they knew that we would need to build the program out with a project manager. So the year 2 funding was allocated about 230,000, and then year three would be 250,000.
It's more than 6. Okay.
And we've met, so just some background is that I think the governor's office particularly liked our municipality to do this program and working with a high level of the mayor's office because that's how it was originated in Baltimore City. The mayor's office was actually working with the police department to create this program versus other jurisdictions where the money is actually given to the health department. Now, because we're not a rural area and we don't, we work with our county health department, they wanted to, I think, see what the city could actually do with our own law enforcement and create this type of program.
Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I think the other, to kind of piggyback into that, is it was just sort of curious to hear that you say that the program hasn't been rolled out yet, but at the same time, you've made this hire and all this stuff, so it sounds like eventually there's a plan. But let me ask this, so I think for the purpose of this meeting today, there is no interface required between the Office of Emergency Management and the mayor's office on this grant. So the mayor's office is going to administer this grant. They're going to report on this grant independently of the Office of Emergency Management. And that's okay with you?
That's correct.
Okay.
And Madam Chair, I could share the information, but we've been reporting with the governor's office every quarter for the last year and a half.
For this grant?
For this grant, yes.
Okay.
May I ask one more question?
Of course.
Can you define, or maybe we're getting to that. I now have the Naptown anti-dope movement, but we have no harm, we have NAM VIP. What's the difference? Or are we going to talk about that next? I mean, these are all separate programs.
So, Madam Chair.
Yes.
Could I,
I'm sorry.
Do we need a slide again?
No, I just wanted to answer Alderman Pendle Charles' question about the opioid summit. And I can, after the meeting, we all agreed that we're kind of ahead of the game as far as the city of Annapolis, even looking nationally as far as the SUD finder, Narcan leave behind. These are things that we've already been doing. But the community engagement programs as well, Your Life Matters, APD, NAM, there are a lot of jurisdictions who don't do that and haven't tackled it the way we have. I personally went to the opioid state settlement tracks and looked at how different states were distributing the money. They didn't have any particular cities where I could sit in and listen what they've done, but I learned that, again, these settlements are going to be ongoing. So this isn't the first opioid settlement that will probably be given to the city. But also I went to the vendors area and they had different vendors, but the one that a couple stood out were, some virtual e-resource management firms, meaning like they offer virtual recovery services. So it was a very insightful conference, and this is my second year going. I went first in 2019.
In your capacity as managing the NAM money, yeah. And I think, Director Dickinson, those allocations need to be corrected in the mayor's budget. The categories of the grant, I believe, are incorrect. The amounts are incorrect. Because right now, Kevin, you might be able to correct this, or MK, you might be able to correct this right now. I mean, we have OIT, APD at 10,000, the mayor, the NAM at 6,000. I think that's 7,500 is what you said. And then, remember we...
Is that for FY23?
FY23, let's do it now. This is painful enough, we'll keep going. But the APD allocation of the 35,000 is what, MK? You had a slide on it.
So you're talking about for the county projected grants, correct?
Yeah, fiscal year 2023 projection on the county grant.
So because it's a projection, again, this is just what we have used in the past and in preliminary discussions with the coordinators. So like Katie had mentioned, the end number is the most important, that 35.
Yep, that's
And
in there,
then after
yeah.
we have that coordination amongst the rest of the program coordinators, we can reallocate within as necessary. So right now, yes, APD is scheduled to get $7,500. Now, the use for that could be anything between overtime, benefits, supplies, things that they've already done. But if they say we need 8,000, or they say we only need 6,000 this year, depending on any other funding we get, that will change.
And you'd fluctuate the other.
So
okay.
I don't want to hyper focus so much on
no,
this individual.
you know why I'm asking is that I keep hearing that someone's not getting enough money, and I just want to put that to bed. So the second line item we have is Mayor at 6,000. What is that money right now?
So yes. So you're looking at the $35,000
Yeah.
from the health department.
Yes.
And that's only a half of the puzzle. That's 50% of the puzzle. But once you inject the 70.
I'm sorry, don't go there. I'm just dissecting the $35,000 in the mayor's budget. I'm sorry, Kevin, to cut you off, but I'm just dissecting the $35,000, what's appropriated, because this is going to come up again in city council review of the budget. So are these numbers correct on page 31?
So we can update, or we can provide a revised page for that?
Yeah.
If you like?
Yes.
But as far as the budget is concerned, right, it's shown as, how's it shown in the appendix?
It's broken down in the appendix
Okay,
by
so then
each
we
of the
are-
4 line items. So if we're going to, my concern is that we change all these, and then at some point in time in the fiscal year, it's going to change again. The funding shifts around.
Yeah.
And if you want to change, there's a budget book that you're seeing that breakdown in, but in the Appendix B, we also broke down the amounts.
Okay.
So if for appearance sake, if you want it shifted, we're going to have to do a budget amendment.
No, that's okay.
So
It's just got to be clear to my colleagues. It looks like Naptown is getting $10,000 versus what shows as 6,000. So that might just end some internal dialogue. And then the overdose free is 10,000.
Versus 1150.
Yes, thank you. And then the Your Life Matters is the same, and those add up to 35,000. All right.
and Madam Chair,
Yes.
once you've done your adding, just remember that when the 70,000 comes into play,
Yes.
Naptown will get 25,000.
Oh, sure.
Your Life Matters will get
Absolutely.
25,000,
Okay.
and the police will get 25.
Absolutely equal. Okay.
At the end of
This
the
is
day.
the best that you can do right now with what you have. That's all. I don't. Alderman Finlayson has a question. I do have some questions from Alderman Gay, who's watching, apparently would like a copy of the,
He has, I responded to him already, so don't worry about it.
is y'all all concluded? Oh, thank you.
He sent it to all of us, so I just responded.
Okay. Alderman Finlayson.
I still don't think I got an answer to my question. What's the difference between NAM, no harm, NAM VIP, and I'm clear on the other one now.
Okay.
So, 3 programs out of the mayor's office. What do they each do, and where can we find what they do?
Okay.
Can I interrupt just 1 second? I wanted Director Simmons to follow up and just give kind of a 25-word or less regarding, because we had talked about this, regarding even the prior conventions that you had gone to. I know Mr. Jai mentioned that we're way ahead of the game, but I think you can give a few more pointers about the prior conventions and how that's been going. That's okay.
What are you looking? Alderwoman, can I have my question answered, please?
I didn't want to have a break in what they're saying, but excuse me, I apologize profusely for it.
I just need
Thank
definitions
you. Go right ahead.
before we get into any specifics.
Go right ahead. Go right ahead.
Okay, but tell us where it is in the budget, Alderman Finlayson.
I don't know.
Oh, okay,
I
or
mean,
if it is.
On the slide, the slide for Mr. Ajayi, I'm sorry, I apologize for mispronouncing your name.
Ajayi.
It says not the same as no harm or NAM VIP. So I just want to know what those are.
Okay. So one, there's no such thing as NAM VIP.
Thank you.
There's only a no harm VIP. And just to kind of give some background is that from data collected from APD and just being in my role, I found that most of the fatalities in the city came from fatal overdoses or gun violence. I don't think we need any data to prove that, but that was why this program was developed, was to use the model of NAM, which took us directly into communities, high-risk communities, providing resources and working on breaking the stigma around treatment and substance use disorder. We wanted to use that same model, that harm reduction framework, and put it towards violence. Now, my experience is I've seen different violence intervention organizations in different different bigger cities, I should say. And I thought that we could attempt to do this in the city of Annapolis using the credible messengers or people from the community, from those particular neighborhoods as outreach workers that will be able to, put out the message of nonviolence, but also be able to connect people directly with resources and services, often, treatment, employment, expungements, things like that.
So No Harm is an anti-violence program?
Yes, it's no harm, violence, intervention, and prevention. And I did have the funding request. I don't want to jump ahead, but.
Well, that was going to be my question. Where is it as far as funding is concerned?
Right, so I don't know if you recall January 2021, or actually November 2020, came before the council and asked that we be given funding from the CARES Act to develop a pilot called No Harm VIP. So the program ran from January 2021 to June 2021, and the funding did not continue. I was asked by my former chief of staff to make a request to the county health department, and we have been meeting with them for approximately 4 to 5 months. We've actually had a breakthrough in my eyes is that they've agreed to do a $25,000 that they'll pay for assessment with a global violence intervention organization called Cure Violence Global.
Well, I don't want to interrupt you, but where is it in 23 budget? Is it in the 23 budget, or are you counting on getting a grant
$64,000
for this program?
Yes, Alderwoman Finlayson. It's in the Mayor's budget in the grants expenditures on page 31, No Harm VIP. Okay, yeah. The total grant will be $640,000 if it is approved. Okay. We are still in conversations with the county to, there's $25,000 for an assessment, and we are in negotiations with the county and Dr. Kalyanarama to marry the methodology that we've taken from No Harm, which is very much a community-driven, relationship-driven model, and then marry that to the requirements from the county to ensure that we can collect data and measure outcomes and report on the results of our program.
Okay, so I see it, page 31. So that's No Harm VIP.
Oh, just one addition is that I'm not sure where the mistake was made, but I've only asked for $370,690 from the county per year. I don't know if someone added, because Dr. K, when we first met, he said he wanted to see, I was only asked for funding for a year. He said he wanted to see a long-term program that they could study the results, the data from, and, see, how this has happened,
So how did this number get in the budget?
I'm not sure.
Previous chief of staff provided those amounts.
Okay, yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
So
yeah.
You're saying now that it's only 300.
Well, I was asking him for $370,000 over 3 years, so it came out to about $1.3 million.
Okay.
I'm about to have a meeting with the County Health Department with Tola on Thursday. So I think that's when I'll get my first opportunity to go through in detail exactly what we've put forward to the county, what their position is. I've had some early conversations. So unfortunately, I can't clarify for you exactly how the 640,000 figure was arrived at, but I should be able to do that after Thursday.
Okay.
Okay, I don't want to be confused any further, but that is the no harm VIP.
Yes, yes.
Correct. Okay. Is there just a no harm?
No.
No. Okay.
Now, I think the confusion was that in the budget from last year, the mayor's budget, I had asked for $5,000 to be used for violence intervention programming under no harm because I, wasn't going to be able to keep the staff that I had employed. So that money was used to just do some community events.
Okay.
So violence intervention is not, it's within no harm VIP.
Yes, and I can understand your confusion, Alderwoman Finlayson, because as Tola was saying, the idea for the no harm model came out of NAM, and I have a feeling there's probably been some loose terminology over the past year or so as we've kind of mapped out the thinking and then worked out how we actually plan and manage both these programs separately. So I think there has been some kind of loose language, and there is some relationship in the origins of these, but they are now two completely separate things. Anti-dope movement, no harm, violence intervention.
Got it. Thank you. Madam Chair, you might want to, Alderwoman Pindell Charles was trying to ask a question, I think.
We can move on.
Okay.
We can take that up at our next public safety team meeting.
All right.
Thank you.
Right. I'm just going to make a subjective comment, and city manager can tell me if I'm out of line. If I'm the county and if I'm Dr. K and you're coming to me, I'm totally confused. And that's all I care about. I mean, am I wrong here?
Madam Chair, I continue from my conversation with Dr. K last week.
Yeah.
There's no confusion.
Okay.
The county completely sees merit in a violence intervention program. And in the model that Tola has identified, Cure Violence, which is a proven model that is being used across other cities and other areas, we need to work out how we adapt that model to our community needs and the situation here in Annapolis. But the county is very clear of the worth and merit of this program, and we're at the stage of mapping out exactly how we will apply this model to provide the data measurements and other reporting requirements that the county will need. So there's certainly understanding and interest from the county in this specific grant
Okay. To be totally transparent, do you agree with that, Director Simmons?
I do.
Okay, good.
I'm coming at it from a different point, though.
Yeah.
The substance use disorder crisis is different in the county than it is in Annapolis City. And Fran Phillips, when we talked to Fran Phillips when she was the health officer, we supplied her with data and she said, yes, absolutely different. So we needed to take a different approach. And that's when the health department started giving us funding to deal with the issues in the city, which is a lot different than the issues in the county. So Dr. Kalyana Raman has been very, very supportive of our efforts and our OIT. As a matter of fact, on the county level, I'm the co-chair of that OIT as well as leading ours.
Can I ask one more? All right. I appreciate that. And I know that there's a lot of back and forth, but it kind of goes back to what's the difference between no harm VIP and the APD SUD when we're both looking at harm reduction, response, treatment, recovery.
Yeah, it's violence. The SUD program is just focused on substance use disorder. No harm VIP is strictly focused on, mitigating violence.
And so, for example, gun violence is one clear and urgent need that No Harm VIP will be seeking to prevent.
Okay. And it makes more sense to have no harm VIP in the mayor's office versus the police department.
Yes, because there are a lot of health and other social implications, economic implications as well. So this is not a sort of a criminal, looking at how we intervene from a policing end into violence. This is a community-driven model around how we build networks, resources, relationships and support for people who are at risk, and prevent gun violence and other forms of violence in those communities.
Just to add, so I actually, on the Atlanta trip, got to meet with the Strategic Partnership Director for Cure Violence Global, and he took me on a site visit to one of their Atlanta locations. And I got on the phone, I had a phone call with him and Robert Horn from the Reentry Program, because Officer Horn helped develop, he was partnering with the violence intervention program called Safe Streets out of Baltimore. So, we've had the conversation, and from internally discussions, we understand how we're going to partner, and I'd like to come back, once we can talk more about it with APD and different representatives. But it is something that needs to be community driven, and the credible messenger component of it means that we're dealing with people that have come from these communities and potentially have been victims or perpetrators of violence, but they have to have, been reformed per se, or gone through, their prison terms or what have you, and show that they want to give back to their communities and do this work. But I do stress that it is not a regular way of doing things, particularly for the city of Annapolis. But again, Baltimore City's had a safe streets program for over 10 years.
Okay.
And if I could just clarify the use of the word regular there. What we're talking about is a community-built model. It's very much a relationship-driven program. It's the program we've used for NAM, the anti-dope movement. It's proving highly successful and effective. And our community worker who's leading the work in the communities on NAM is proving highly effective at developing intervention strategies. So we're using that model again over here to develop a violence prevention and a violence interruption model. So it's very much community relationship driven and needs driven. And so it's coming at it from that perspective. But it has links. We do have a member of the police in our working group. We have other stakeholders engaged in our working group as well. And of course, all of these issues have some common roots and connections. So the ability of the Mayor's office to then look at data that comes out of No Harm, VIP, data that comes out of NAM, data that comes out of LEAD, can help us refine and tailor our models. And that's where we also can work with Kevin and his team, and we can share. We're always working together to share all this information, to refine our programs, to learn the lessons, to make them better. But what we do from the Mayor's office tends to have that community-specific needs focus to it. So I think that's one of the differences perhaps between some of the things we do versus some of, obviously Kevin's team is focusing on an Annapolis-driven approach as well, as he was referring to. Ours has a more relationship aspect, I guess, rather than a medical, if I could put it that way, kind of model.
And Alderwoman O'Neill, just want to remind you, like we said earlier in the presentation, due to our grant guidelines, we're always gleaning these projects and programs to make sure we don't have duplication of efforts. And I can assure you that we look at that all the time, just to make sure that we're not doing something twice, which doesn't make any sense.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah, I mean, the mayor has taken on a big thing. It's a big thing, and I guess if Tola, if you can wake up every morning and you can delineate, am I working against this grant or am I working against this grant? If you can do that, then we're fine, then I'm fine. I mean, but that's still, I still think from all of this discussion, the lines are still a little bit blurry, that this piece of NAM in the mayor's budget, that grant has, has some interface, I think, with the no harm, no matter what I'm hearing. I just, I still think the lines might be blurred, but the fact of the matter is, these grants have to be managed and they have to be accounted for. And right now, it's our understanding that the OEM is handling this $35,000, and that you have no interface with the no harm grant. I don't know if we can say that, but go ahead and say it.
The program, the way I understand it, what is the name of that grant? You wrote it down here a second ago.
Oh, COAP
Yes.
and the LEAP grant.
The Comprehensive Opioid Abuse Program is a deterrent program. Is that a diversion? Thank you. A diversion program that has no particular place in the Annapolis OIT. It's more of a police function, the way I understand it.
And if, yeah, Madam Chair, if I could just, I hope I'm going to help rather than cause more confusion.
No, well, the thing that I'm frustrated about is we have in our budget, there's a big number, and I'm already hearing from the person or the office that's supposed to be managing that number that that's not the number. That doesn't give me much faith in the management of this grant of $640,000 called No Harm VIP.
So
yeah.
I understand. So I am not party to the detail of how that figure was arrived at, but I can find out for you. It's not something that Susie briefed me on in detail, but I can find that information out. And I'm sure there is a rationale there. Again, I think this is probably down to me being 2 weeks into the role and just not having the detail for you.
No, I totally apologize for that. And this is good for all of us, but I think the other frustration is that I know we know what we're doing somewhere because we hired somebody to do it. So I think I'll go back to my previous request. If there's some sort of a bullet white paper thing you can give us on that no harm VIP grant, that would be helpful.
Yeah, Madam Chair, perhaps I could undertake that if I write up, with Tola's assistance, I can write up a summary of all of the points of these programs and give you a sense of where they're up to. These are grants we are still applying for. So, these are not, I wouldn't want to overcommit at this stage. We're still working through this. But if I could write that up for you with Tola's help, that might just help spell out, where each one is up to, what the thinking is, and give you some confidence that the planning is all in place and and that we can proceed with confidence.
And some of these matters are covered in Public Safety Committee as well. So we could, I'm not going to speak for the audit person, but
that's not here in regard to the interface. And if we had time, we'd revisit that. Maybe we still will, I don't know. Okay, I don't know if we've exhausted this.
I think we have.
Alderwoman Pendle-Charles, you're okay with your question?
Yes, Madam Chair, I'm fine, thank you.
All right. Well, thank you. I think we're done.
Thank you for your patience.
Oh, God.
We'll work it out.
Yeah.
I will go.
Thank you all so much. It's been wonderful.
But
Welcome to Annapolis,
Thank you.
Kate.
I know. Hey, MK. Sorry. You didn't get one, so.
that hasn't changed.
She deserves one. So thank you so much. All right, do you want to continue and at least make a recommendation on the fees and fines? Do you think we're brain dead, or could we do that?
I'm ready to do it, though, while it's still fresh.
Yeah.
But we have some amendments we have to do to the fees and fines.
Yes.
I have them written down, if
Yes.
anybody else does.
Yes, I
Or
think
to
between the three of us,
give.
we have an amended, next topic, fees and fines, fees. Let me go to them to get my notes. D, okay. And the amendment, so. Oh,
Page 9.
you're excused.
Oh, sorry.
Sorry, thank
We're
you.
just moving right along.
Thank you.
On page 9, the amendment, and how do we do this? Ms. Conley, are you recording this, Ms. Dickinson? Somebody, we need to, and you may already have this, the amendment on page 9 speaks to moving from a weekly fee to a monthly fee.
So you can, I have that one, but you can send me your requests and I can draft them in proper language and send them back for review.
So what does that mean? I have to send you an email that says,
Can you take,
the chair has it?
well, what we're trying to do is make, conclude, we want to make our recommendation.
Sure.
So with that change, what is that?
So this should be in Takia's notes.
Right.
So
Ms.
she's
Green
making,
has-
It always falls to
You
Takia
have to officially make a motion to amend that.
for each one of these line items.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, we
If
can
you
do
want an
that. We can do
amendment.
anything you want us to do.
So, Madam Chair, I will make a motion to amend in the fee schedule, page 9, to change the terminology from winter weekly to winter monthly.
It's like the code.
There's no line items.
Under 15.10.120, and this is, I don't know what the the heading is winter monthly. And that should be changed to winter, I'm sorry, it's winter weekly.
Winter weekly.
It has to be changed to winter monthly. And all three of the categories, 20 amps, 30 amps, and 50 amps, those fee changes are correct, except they should be monthly fee changes, not weekly. So do we want to vote on that one first and then go to the next one, or do you want them all?
Let's vote on that one so we can get it off the plate.
Okay, I did make a motion to make that
I second.
change.
All in favor, signify aye.
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 Okay.
Aye.
The second one I have is on page 10. And that's the Tucker Street. And I'm not sure how we word that.
I can talk to that because I've been talking with the resident.
So do we want to postpone action on that one? Well, there's no motion on the floor, so we
Well, I
don't
make
have.
a motion to add a non-resident fee.
Okay, for the Tucker Street annual vote? Or,
So that what we're looking at is resident for 25, and then we're,
Non-resident fee was suggested to not go above 100.
so I'm not clear of the motion.
Motion would be to add a fee for non-residents. I do have a question about my motion and if we need to divide it between non-city resident and non-county resident.
Why do we care about non-county residents? Who else, who would it be if they're not? You're talking about people from out of state?
So here's the discussion on it. Right now, there's been a lot of discussion back and forth about who can use that dock. And the people that live on that street believed that it should only be Annapolis City residents, which hence the fee, the $25 fee. There's been pushback because if I live across the street, if I live on the other side of Weems Creek, I can't use that. It went into the law office and the law office says that you can't keep people from using it legally because we're using state funds to revitalize it. But we could have a different fee structure for either people in the county and or people outside of Anne Arundel County. So if I came from Baltimore County and wanted to use it, I would pay a fee. If I came from the county.
So is the question, or would it be resolved if we just say non-city residents as a second option? Either city residents, you pay this amount, non-city residents, no matter whether you're in the county, the state, wherever, you pay a different amount.
So if I am a non-city resident, but my address is Annapolis, do I pay the non-city fee?
They're not in the city.
City limits.
So if I can look at that dock, I
They're not
pay
in the city.
$100
They're not in the
versus
city.
the person that lives next to the dock.
We're using the logic of any increment being
Your mic,
whether.
your mic.
I'm trying to use the logic of the city taxes, so anyone non-city is not paying the city
I think that's
taxes.
the differentiation that
Yeah.
the law office uses, so we'd have to apply that here too, I
Yeah.
think.
Okay, so if I live on Ridgely Avenue and who is going to check to see, because my address is Annapolis, whether I'm in the city or not? If I've got I'm guessing I'm getting the permit from the harbor master's office? If I go to the harbor master's office and the 18-year-old summer employee, and I come in and say I live in Annapolis, is he double checking that they're within the city limits or not? And is that adding a layer to?
Well, I think we should assume that the employee would do his job.
Okay.
And that would mean to check the address to make sure it's a city resident before they administer a city permit.
Okay.
My bet's on Beth Bellis to do that.
Well,
Sorry.
but I think she has a handful of
I mean,
folks that
as
she's
overseer.
trained up, so I wouldn't assume that they wouldn't do due diligence.
Okay. I just want, I'm
Yeah.
trying to be devil's advocate
Yeah.
too.
no.
And good question, and that's something she needed to hear. And I suspect she's still listening. So, well, maybe she's not, but they need to be aware that they need to ask, or they need to double check whether
The
they're
address.
residents or not. So
City
would that
resident or not.
Suffice to say non-resident,
Yes.
Are we?
non-Annapolis
So
resident.
my motion would be that we add a line item for non-city resident fee. The law office had said no more than 100.
So
But you don't need a specific
Uh,
number.
it's 15.10.020, same section as the last one, but it's Tucker Street. It's the very last category under that
Do we have
code
any-
section.
We didn't have a dollar amount yet, though.
You don't need a dollar.
It's somewhere between
That's what she-
25 and 100. So you have to decide what you want to do with
I
it.
elect to say 50.
Me too. That was the
Okay,
first thought I
50 it
had.
is, then I'll second that motion.
Okay, all in favor, signify by saying aye.
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 Takia, you good with that one?
Sure.
Okay,
Okay.
okay. 13?
I'm not sure this needs to be an amendment. Under page
Oh.
26.
Oh, no, back up, sorry.
Okay, I'm sorry, go ahead.
Well, this is just a correction on page 13.
I've got that one written down too, but I.
Oh, just a strike through.
From
I think it's a
$9.98.
typo, and I don't know if Takia knows if that has to go in the form of an amendment or
I
not.
don't, just, okay.
The typo.
Okay, that's,
So page 13.
Yeah, it's not, you see the number?
Yeah, I have it.
Okay.
we don't need a motion on that?
If it's a typo, then no.
Okay.
Correct.
It's what?
If it's a typo, then no, they can.
Okay. Okay.
The other one, and I don't know whether we really want to go as far as amending it, on page 26, to add pre-K to fifth grade under latchkey.
Oh, yes.
Do we want to define that?
So we wanted to strike latchkey program. Is that what Director Trader said? Strike the words latchkey and change it to pre-K to grade 5.
Oh, I didn't hear the part about
I didn't
striking it.
get that impression that he wanted to change the name. He just wanted to add.
Miss Simmons stated it.
They do want to change the name.
Miss Simmons stated it.
Okay, I like
You
that.
want to change the name
But-
to pre-K to
City
fifth
manager,
grade?
are you okay if they change the name of that?
I am, yeah.
I think you're okay with it, okay.
Okay.
So what's the motion for a new name?
Motion is to change it from the current latchkey program to pre-K to grade 5.
I'll second it for sake of a discussion, but I don't know whether I'm comfortable with it. Because folks are accustomed to latchkey, and that's what they'll look for. We're giving it a definition instead of a title.
Yeah.
And in their discussion, when they came in front of us, there was talking about a negative connotation for the word latchkey. They talked about changing it then.
Well, I missed it, but if that was Director, thank you. I wanted to say Director Archie, that's not right. Director Traders.
It's okay, I said Director
Okay,
Kwaku.
I'm good.
Yeah, we're good. If it's a negative connotation, that governs, I think. And,
So there's a motion.
Motion is to change it from latchkey program to pre-K to grade 5.
I think it was pre-K to grade 5 childcare or something like that.
yeah, that's what we're missing, the word
Childcare
childcare.
program or something.
Thank you, Director Dickinson. All right,
So are we going with childcare program?
Pre-K to grade 5 childcare program.
then I have an amendment, we have an amendment in Amendment 3.
There's a motion on the floor.
Oh, yeah, okay, was there a second? Second.
I did second, yeah.
All in favor of that amendment, signify by saying aye.
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 And then the tweak, or whatever we want to call it, in Amendment 3, where the leagues, all the league stuff.
So you
well,
want to
there was
add adult to summer basketball league?
men's, was it? Was it limited to men's?
I think we changed it to adult
Okay, that's
summer
better.
basketball league.
Yeah, and to $700.
And it should be 700. Was that a typo also, or do we need an amendment to the amendment?
I think
So, yes, it was a misinterpretation of what originally came over, being 2 fees. She was supposed to put 700 in both columns.
yeah.
And
Because the value is wrong, I think it's an amendment. Unlike the other one, which
it
was
doesn't
something.
matter. Making an amendment makes it a more,
Oh,
it's
okay.
more conservative. If we're in doubt, we should put it in the amendment.
Well, this is an amendment from the mayor's office, or from the mayor.
Yeah.
In their
So in the
presentation,
amendment,
they said 700.
Right. It should be changed to 700. It's Amendment 3. It hasn't been before council yet, so you can just make that change. The
Yes.
Finance Committee is going to amend it just because it involves a number, that's inaccurate, it's wrong. I
right.
But
agree.
do we have to amend it if we don't have it on the floor? Can the finance director simply change this amendment to read 700?
Yes.
Takia,
Jakia.
These amendments are already attached to this, to the legislation, the fees legislation.
Okay.
If you guys change anything, it will become an amendment from the finance committee.
Okay.
From the Finance Committee.
Yes, so it would be an additional amendment, so it would be amendment, let me see, 1, 2, 3.
And that's where I'm hearing different advice. I thought,
It would be,
but that's okay.
because this is not your amendment,
right,
so you can't change it.
We're making recommendations against what's before us, so we're recommending that this,
No, you're gonna, if you're gonna change this,
yeah.
it's gonna be an amendment additional to this amendment.
I think what the confusion is we can change Amendment 3 coming from the mayor.
Right.
You can't as a
can't.
body because you're Finance Committee. So if the Finance Committee moves in and passes a change, it's a new amendment. You can't change what the mayor submitted as an amendment.
But you can.
But we could, yes.
Can
So
the
if
mayor
that's the way
change
you
the-
want to go, we can change the amendments that's been loaded and put the corrections in there.
Thank you.
That,
So you can change the number to 700.
yes.
Can you
Because
also
they were
add the word
supposed to,
adult?
yes, and I have emails that back that up. And we
Okay,
were going to
so-
change it to 700, didn't get done.
So do we need to take an action to add the word
Adults.
to
That
the
was,
summer?
that was your
Okay, so
your
that's
idea, so
Your
yes.
amendment.
Okay, so I move an amendment to Amendment 3 that, yeah, because this is Amendment 3. Oh, Because this is.
You can't amend an
Amendment
amendment.
3. So
what is-
what you're going to do is amend this section.
But
it's
this
not gonna
section
have
is
a-
in Amendment 3.
You cannot amend an amendment. You
So
have to.
how does the public know what we're changing?
It just completely displaces. It's like you're going to take a new table
Not even
and,
there. It's what's in your book.
Oh, boy.
But what's in the book is inaccurate.
What's in the book is in
That's why
there.
this is the replacement.
Yeah, we're not going
Is
to go
there a
back.
section for this in the book?
Not these last ones, but the
They're
first
added.
one.
They're added.
The summer program, what page is it on?
He added these in Amendment 3.
the finance
Page in
committee
the
will
book.
create a table
Yeah.
in Amendment 4 that will look exactly like that with all the corrections that you want in it. So
That's
that
fine.
when it,
Yeah.
whichever one passes, 3 or 4 or both, it will completely, your new table will completely displace what was there before. So in that little section, you're going to create Amendment 4, and it's going to have any kind of changes you want in there, including the 700.
Can we just say, we recommend this change? Is that, I mean, we're struggling for what to say.
Well, so our amendment has to include the Amendment 3. Because on Amendment 3, there are 5 items that have been added that are
Correct.
not in the budget book.
Correct. Your Amendment 4 has to have everything in there as final.
So this is an amendment to this amendment.
It's not an amendment to the amendment. When you pass, like if Amendment 3 comes before the council and you vote, that's the table that goes in there. Then if there's an Amendment 4 that comes and creates that table again, you are creating something new. And it will completely wipe out what was done on 3 and displace whatever is in the resolution table. I'm sorry, the resolution fee table. It will completely displace that.
Okay. So our amendment, and is it Amendment 4?
No.
Would be to add adult to the summer league, summer basketball league.
Do we also need to add it to the volleyball league, the doubleheader, the single?
Yeah, that was my question. I mean, we got Amendment 3 in front of us. Why
So
do we go back to the
I'm
budget
wondering
book?
if we can simplify this.
Yeah.
If the city manager, and we'll have to run it back through the mayor, if we'll just change the language in that table to put the word adult in as recommended by the finance committee on our side, so that we don't have to wrestle with a second amendment that affects the same table. So, but we have to figure out from Rec and Parks if those all need to say adult, because I don't remember them going through the list and saying that each one is an adult league. Possible,
Yeah, I just
maybe
wrote-
probable,
The
but
only
I don't
we
remember
talked
them
about was
addressing
summer
it, so
Basketball.
we'll have to go ask them about the table and if we need to put the word adult in front of those fees.
What was,
The only difference is that they said youth basketball league, so.
It's
that-
because they have
that
both,
was
they have 2
adult.
basketball leagues on there.
Yeah.
And that's why you wanted to differentiate.
yeah, we just need, it's clear that the other one is adults if one is already youth.
So do we make
Right.
this motion, do we ask Ms. Dickinson to go back with the mayor and just add the language?
Yes.
Okay.
Thank you.
It will
Okay.
be fixed. Yeah, let's get off these amendments.
Well, we
Wait a
need
minute.
to
Were there-
give a favorable to amendments 1 and 2 from the mayor's office.
1 and 2.
The mayor's amendments 1 and 2, which deal with, this is still Rexham Park,
Yeah,
recreation fees on the first page is Amendment 1, and then backside is his Amendment 2.
okay, so what, okay, we're recommending 1 and 2 not to, so why couldn't
We're going to
we-
have to give you a new 3 before you can consider it, so you might want to delay that vote for
3 is
another
coming
day.
back to us corrected. and-
Right.
Okay, so, yeah, so
Can-
the
So
motion is,
I'll move that we give a favorable recommendation to amendments 1 and 2. The
I
Buckley
second.
amendments 1
yeah,
and 2.
unmodified, yeah. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Okay, so those are the amendments that were before
I think that
us.
was all the
Okay.
changes.
Yes,
Did
but,
we have something else?
Madam Chair?
Oh, that's the other
Yes.
page.
So you were asking about the APD fees that seem duplicative. And they're in different sections, they refer to different sections of the code, remember?
At the very
And so that first section where it currently resides, that's not crossed out, that is a section for simply providing people, it's in the section of the code that talks about responding to public information requests. And that section A is when you're just going to provide a document that exists. Section G, which is where he put the new items
stuff.
in,
Yeah.
is both searching and replicating to respond to the request. So some of all of the items, most of the items that they added do have a search element to them. So, which is why they probably more properly belong in that lower section. They're not just here, make a copy of an existing record.
Thank you for that research.
So it would probably be better to strike out the other ones that seem duplicative in section A. But what I also noticed when looking into that, not to open a can of worms, but there's other things in section A that have a search element to them. So we may want to kind of revisit the whole section.
So you're suggesting that we not give a favorable recommendation to that section as written?
No. I would say if we want to, being in there twice doesn't cause an issue because the fees are the same.
Right, as far as we're
So what we
concerned.
may want to do is just as a general recommendation, we need to go back and clean up that section and make sure that
Okay.
what's in section A is for section A and what's in section G and the other sections addresses what it's supposed to address. More like a cleanup of those.
Should we postpone action until you do that?
No, I
No,
don't
just
think
make
it's critical.
a motion to use.
In my
subject-
opinion, it's not critical.
Subject to the correct reallocation per code, something like that.
Well, I think
I don't.
I'll make a motion that we give a favorable of the fees with the amendments. Is that sufficient?
I'll second.
Yeah.
And we have 2 amendments so far, or however many we have.
Okay, all in
4,
favor?
5, 6 amendments.
All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Yeah, I'm not too worried about APD because the numbers don't change. I wasn't too worried about this because the numbers don't change, but, okay, so
Yeah.
where are we now? Do we need a final?
Do we need one on the fines?
Now we have
just
to
did
do
the fines.
fines. And I don't think we have any amendments.
I don't have
to fines.
anything
The
on.
only one I had question on was whether we wanted to
legal.
increase the fine for repeat and continuous violations for
Beth?
15.06.
She
Oh,
was,
that's on page 6.
Yeah.
did we,
I think we should have her come back and give us the recommendation. Because she didn't give us an amount, did she?
she wasn't too.
She wasn't asking for an amount. She was
going to reconsider it, was she? Did she
Yeah.
leave saying she was going to look at it? She didn't really think about it. She was going to look at it.
I just equated it to parking fines escalating.
Yeah. You want to double it? So, that's what we're arguing is the fine for repeat. So she has 200. What does she do? Oh, no, that one's. She keeps them all the same.
They're all the same throughout, yeah.
200, 200,
Almost.
except for the unlicensed thing.
Right.
I'd entertain a motion just to double it, just like parking. But you don't have to agree with me.
Well, the other question about this was differentiating in the infractions. If it's something that deals with public safety, I think it should have a higher fine than just, I don't know what a minor
Yeah,
thing would
which
be,
was
but-
the one with the donuts?
Yeah, that's the same one we're talking about.
Right.
Yeah.
She said that she uses it at her discretion and only does 8 to 15 citations per year.
Could we say not to exceed something?
Yeah, let's say not to exceed 500.
Yeah, I
Yeah.
would say that. I would support that.
Okay, was that a motion?
That's a motion.
And that's a
To-
second.
And this is all in favor?
Wait a minute, 15.06.
Oh, sorry.
Page 6, 15.06 at the
The
bottom
repeat
page.
violators, 500, not to exceed 500. Got it?
Okay.
Okay.
That's the one that bothered us, right? The others are moorings, that's her thing. And because with moorings, sometimes she's dealing with people that can't afford. All right, that's all I,
So there's a motion on the floor.
For favorable recommendation, or?
No, you have
To
to
add.
vote on the motion.
oh, I thought we did, okay.
Nope.
Do
Do
I have a
second?
Okay,
Yes, you got
all in
a
favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Do I have a motion to approve the fines as amended?
Motion to approve.
Second.
All in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Okay, so here's my question. How do we address this in our report? Do we just include it, or do we just speak to it?
What do you mean, the changes? This change?
Yeah, in our report to the council, we want them to know that we reviewed them and blah, blah, blah. So how is that usually done on the fees and fines? Just,
Well, just to say,
That
we
we-
reviewed the fines, we found them all in line with
okay, I can do
the
that.
expectations except one, and we felt that it was important to increase second offenders fees,
Okay,
fines.
okay. So you guys were brain dead now. But I do think that I really need your help in reviewing the
Could I have that, please?
report
Thank you.
so far, because this is, I wanted to focus our deliberations on what our recommendations were. Oh, wait, we needed David Jarrow. Oh, we're still on, are we on mic? That's okay.
Can we end?
Why don't we end and then discuss? Yeah. Yeah. What? Could I have a motion to adjourn?
Do we,
We're going to talk offline about the
okay.
report. The public doesn't.
so if we're finished, I'll make a motion to adjourn.
I'll second it.
All in favor signify by saying aye.
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 Aye. All right,
You know, I think this is illegal.
It is.